Welcome back to Comtrack, where you'll never have to watch a movie alone again. I'm your host, Tim Leifheit, and we're back with another Marvel Movie of the Month with Mark. Say that 5 times fast. How you doing,
That's
Mark?
right. I'm awesome. Make mine Markville. All right, cool. Well, there goes the entire audience immediately. No, Tim, I am great. Thank you for having me on again. I'm loving this series already.
Me too, dude. Me too. And so for those of you listening back home, if you want to just skip right ahead to the movie and not listen to any of our bullshit, because we will be bullshitting a lot, just click to the sync button below where you can just start the movie immediately. But that said, now that we've done Captain America: The Winter Soldier last month, which, as you said, was one of your favorite movies. Oh yeah. And I decided to start on probably one of my favorite Marvel movies. I think it's so hard. There's some really good ones out there.
Oh, sure.
But if I really had to bog down, say my hands down the best non-Disney, non-MCU Marvel movie, it's probably this one. Yeah,
Sure.
it's got to be, because
It's a ton of fun. Sam Raimi, baby.
Oh, dude, you kidding me? Like, because I remember when I saw the first one, I was in 3rd grade, and I was just getting into Spider-Man comics. Like, that was when I was still reading Nick Magazine. The very first issue that I ever got in the mail was this giant blow-up picture of Tobey Maguire in the Spider-Man costume, promoting Spider-Man 2 way back in 2002, back in the day.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I know, right?
Good old tugboat Maguire.
Yeah, man. And so when I went to go see the first one, I saw it in this little tiny theater. It's like on Main Street of my grandmother's old hometown, in Streator, Illinois. Right next to a really great pizza place also. But
go on.
Fuck yeah. And I still remember that first screening, because I remember this is the most amazing superhero movie I've ever seen. Although that Green Goblin mask bit really creeped me out. Like, I was still a little kid, and horror movies were kind of iffy for me. But yeah, so you can imagine how I was going to feel about 2. I remember the trailer for 2. Remember when the trailer dropped for Spider-Man 2?
Oh yeah, and it was just the scene of it was the scene of them in the cafe with the car crash.
Yep. And then they had like the big, 2 Steps from Hell music going, and and then it ends with, Doc Ock handing a tied up Spider-Man to Harry Osborn with a knife, and he goes, "Let's see who's behind the mask." Boom! Spider-Man 2, 2004.
Oh my God, it's Ryan Reynolds.
Oh my God, it was amazing. Like, that was like one of the coolest trailers.
Seriously. Oh, for sure. No, yeah, all jokes aside, it was so exciting. And at the time, I felt like it was really the beginning of this like feverish pop culture excitement over superhero movies, because you started seeing it building in like the late 90s when Blade was a success, and then X-Men took off in 2000.
Yep.
Then you had Spider-Man in 2002, and Spider-Man was like, oh, we can actually keep it colorful, fun, and light. And then it was like with X-Men 2 and Spider-Man 2, both of those just really cranked it up. And both of those I thought were like really nice, shining examples of the, of the early era of superhero movies. Yeah, I really enjoyed Spider-Man 2.
Oh, dude, are you kidding me? And plus Blade 2.
Blade 2, Guillermo del Toro getting weird with it.
Yeah, man. So it's amazing. And plus it also sadly kind of set a trend where it's like, hey, we can make a really good comic book movie and then make an even better sequel, and then have 3 kind of shit the bed.
Right, exactly. Like, well, nobody wants to do a successful a trilogy, Those aren't cool.
Yeah, we'd have to wait for Chris Nolan to actually kind of follow through with that. But even then, there are people who are like, whatever, Rises was garbage. Like, oh, it's only
I'm one of those people that didn't really like Rises. But that's another podcast.
Yeah, that's
we'll
totally
do that
another
there.
one.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm not going to be like it's a dumpster fire. I just think that Begins and Dark Knight were really great, and then that one was like, I feel like Ledger dying ruined his plans for the trilogy, but he was the kind of contractually obligated, so it's like fine, you know.
Well, it's like,
But
it's sort of like Star Wars in that, there's Star Wars that revolutionized things, and then Empire did it better, and then we got Return of the Jedi. That's the third one.
right, exactly. You're like, yeah, it's it's got its moments. There's definitely some great stuff in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of my expectation that I had is like, it's not going to be as good, but it's going to tie up all the loose ends. It's going to be bigger and grander without actually having like as good of stakes. There's going to be a lot of muddied things. So when I went into that, I enjoyed it for myself. But see, now I know everyone's listening like, see, the thing about Spider-Man is
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
You got to do it
like,
in the Willem Dafoe voice.
Yeah, Spider-Man! Or if you want, J.
Right.
Jonah Jameson, bring me pictures of Spider-Man!
That's
Which,
great.
by the way, J.K. Simmons is perfect. Like, holy shit. Anytime I read...
I just watched... Oh, go ahead.
No, anytime I read a comic book with Jonah Jameson, I will inherently default to his voice. Whenever J.K. Simmons is my J. Jonah Jameson voice in my head when I read the
for
comics.
sure. That's why they brought him back,
Oh, yeah, dude.
without
when he came
question.
back for Homecoming, or no, Far From Home, when he came back at the end of that,
Yeah.
I actually squealed like a little girl in the theater. And my fiance was sitting me like, Jesus Christ, would you calm down? I'm like, no, I did my waiting. 12
she
years
slowly
of it.
removed the engagement ring.
No, she's put up with worse than that. But
That's awesome, though.
I just love the fact that, literally, I've been waiting 12 years for this in Azkaban. So, yeah, that was really awesome to see him return. And as Alex Jonesa Jameson. Like,
right. For sure. Like,
great
by the
is
way, that was
that?
one of my favorite things about the Spider-Man game 2 years ago. I don't know if you played that, but that's a
Oh,
beautiful
dude, are you kidding me?
experience. I figured as much,
Dude.
but I just thought I'd ask. But yeah,
I'm a huge fan of the Spider-Man video games. Okay, so I played pretty much all of them. I played Spider-Man on PS1 and the sequel with, I think it was with Electro.
yes,
I actually managed to beat both of them in one sitting because I was playing on a PlayStation 2, not a PlayStation 1. So there were no save points, so I've had to beat it in one sitting.
Ooh.
Yeah, so then I played the movie tie-in for Spider-Man the movie, and then the amazing PlayStation 2 version of Spider-Man 2, which to this day I still will pop in every once in a while just to go swinging around New York and beating the crap out of bad guys. And then after that I played Ultimate Spider-Man with Venom that really adhered to that comic book form. And then, of course, like as you mentioned, PS4 Spider-Man, which is, when I popped that one in for the first time, and I started like the very opening bit where you dress up as Peter Parker in the his apartment, and then you dive out the window and you start swinging.
Yeah,
The
beautiful.
the thrill of swinging for the first time with those graphics, I actually yelped out, Yahoo!
So, note to self: never play video games with you within like 200 yards. I'm even wearing noise canceling headphones now.
Yeah, a little bit. I was just so blown away. Like, oh my god, this is amazing! Like parkour, like yes.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, back to the movie. We're getting all over the place, aren't we?
Oh yeah. We're already
where-
on the games. I'm like Shattered Dimensions. But
Where were you when you went to go see this one for the first time?
well, I was older than you, which is really fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
This was 2004, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I remember this now because it came out at the beginning of the summer. 2004 at this point. I'm trying to think exactly where I was in life. I know I was back in Cincinnati at this point, and I think, I know, that was like the summer before I started at, UC, and that was when I was about to really make my plunge into, because I was studying telecom right before it at another school, and I did a year there. I was like, I don't like this place. I'm going home. And there's more details to that story, but that's not for this show. And I had a great time. But where's it going with this? Oh, so I just remember that I had this was like that interesting transitional point in life, because it was around like my freshman year-ish of college. I guess it would have been like sophomore at this point. And I was, a lot of the, that weird thing where I had like a pretty close-knit group of friends. I'm still in touch with a good amount of these people, but I just remember it was like an interesting time where things were shifting, and I was so hyped. And I think it was a movie I got to see a day or two early for some reason, because I've always I've always been able to get myself into like early screenings. And that was like early internet days where, because I think I was smart enough to capitalize on the existence of the internet before it became what it is now. I lucked into a lot more things, and I think it's helped me later in life, ultimately.
I'll say.
And I'm sorry that I don't have really great memories of the actual screening experience, because I remember going in being like, that was awesome. I saw it with my friend Elizabeth. I remember her being there, and we all really liked it. And I felt like she liked it more than I did, because my one thing in this is I love this movie. My beef with this franchise is that Peter Parker's like not fun at all ever, like in the suits. And so I just remember thinking my only like, if I had like an area of critique, and I say that loosely, was that I wish there was a little less romance subplot, and the kind of the journey of Peter always being like, well, I can't love you because of this and all this stuff. Like I feel like the romance subplot just isn't. The rest of the movie is so good that the romance subplot being fine, it was always a bummer for me. That was the big takeaway. But I just remember that was like for me, it was like an early point in my interest in media and media criticism, where I had like a really long discussion with somebody, and I felt more adult, which sounds so silly because we're talking about Spider-Man, but like an actual like thoughtful discussion about what we just watched with someone I was at the time with incredibly close with.
Right.
So
right.
now I'm having like sad nostalgia, like, oh, I kind of miss her, but
well, that's cool, man. I mean, either way,
it was a good time, dude. It was the game you mentioned. Mentioning the game, I almost have stronger memories of Spider-Man 2. That was a great summer. The summer
Right?
2004 was amazing.
Yeah, man. Like, and this was also the very This is like, I think because you mentioned X-Men 2,
Yes.
which came out the previous year.
Yeah,
Then we
also
had
in May, weirdly.
and then a year later we got Batman Begins. Like this is when the superhero movies were really starting to pick up steam, and thank God for dumb geeks like us, man.
Oh, yeah, we made it happen.
Yeah, but I think as it's aged though, like Spider-Man 2 is still probably the best, and even the creators are like, yeah, we prefer this one over the 1 and 3. Like this is the one where it all kind of came together.
I agree, and I agree with that as well, for sure.
For
sure.
Man,
I'm excited about this. I haven't watched this in a long time, Tim, so this is going to be an interesting, thing.
I haven't seen it in a long time either, so this will be a really fun wonderful little revisit back into the good times.
Right.
So for those of you listening back home, if you've got the Blu-ray, if you've got the old DVD, by the way, the DVD special features were amazing. That was my film school back in the day.
That's great.
Yeah, dude. Like anytime. Like I should also say, Spider-Man is what got me into widescreen DVDs. Because I remember getting the first one for Christmas.
In full frame?
No, I got it in widescreen.
Good.
Because I remember when, because this was before that was even a thing. They didn't have widescreen DVD or VHS when I was growing up. I mean, they kind of did. They were just really, really fucking rare.
Right, exactly. It was always just like the nerdiest person you knew owned them.
Yes, exactly.
And they only owned Star Wars. That was it.
Exactly. It was Star Wars and maybe something like, I don't know, fucking Fiddler on the Roof.
Right. Yeah. Well, here's Casablanca.
Which actually, there is a Fiddler on the Roof joke in this episode, but we'll get to that when we come to it. But yeah, no, like when I got it, the widescreen, it said that on the top part of it. I'm like, ooh, that's a cool term. What does that mean? And I'm like, ooh, it's like actually wide, sort of like how you see it in the cinema.
Right.
That's cool, and that led me to my now very passionate obsession with aspect ratios and the math behind it and the composition and the history and all that jazz. But yeah, I should probably stop geeking out and we should start the movie.
Yeah, I'm way into that. Let's do it.
Yeah, so if you got your Blu-ray, you got it on streaming, you got it on fucking was it on VHS? I don't think so. I think they phased out by then. But
Probably.
either way, we are starting this bad boy in 3, 2, 1, click. All right, and then we got the Sony pictures. And okay, just one last little minor thing about aspect ratios. I know Tim's the film geek here, but they switched from the, kind of standard American widescreen of 1.85 to 1 to a wider 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio.
Scope, as they call it.
Oh yeah, letterboxing it.
I love that aspect ratio in general because you just get a lot more. I don't know. You can do a lot more like kind of exaggerated visuals sometimes, which I think is fun. And I think in a movie like this, you like that. In thinking about widescreen, there's just so many great. I mean, think about how if this was a more rectangular or square image, think about how not grand these webs would look. I know it sounds silly, and I think it's something the audience won't always appreciate until you point it out to them.
Yeah, but yeah, Sam Raimi said he specifically wanted this kind of shape for Doc Ock's arms, so you could really feel the breadth of those fight scenes. So
for
totally
sure.
Right. And then I love this intro with Alex Ross paintings. Like, okay,
brilliant.
dude, Alex Ross is one of my favorite comic book artists. Like, I have Kingdom Come. I've read all 4 of his DC stuff. I still need to read Marvels. I hear that one's pretty good. But I love the fact that they actually got him to do all these beautiful paintings for the opening. Because last time it was just, very Tim Burton Batman, and it's just a bunch of close-up of webs. Sort of like how the opening of Batman in '89 was just a close-up of the bat symbol.
Right. I always love the credits in those. Yeah, this is a great credit sequence.
Oh, and of course, speaking of Batman, Danny Elfman returns does this one too.
Yeah, his score in this movie is pretty solid too. I think it's a lot better than the first one. I remember thinking in the first one that I was like, oh, I wish the score was incredible. Because I feel like I remember, no, not at all. I think it's really great in this. I love, in kind of a roundabout way. I love that roundabout way. I love that they went with Alan Silvestri in the MCU. Kind of not overall, but like that he did the Avengers stuff. I think he's done a really great job with those themes. It's funny because one of my regrets with this one was that I was like, oh, I really wish that Spider-Man had a very grand, recognizable theme. Like if I say the Batman theme that from the 80s and 90s Batman movies, you'll hear that.
Well, we did have one really good one in the 90s, and he does return. Not for this, because there's actually 2 versions of this movie. There's the theatrical cut, which the one we're watching now, and then there's the Spider-Man 2.1. In the 2.1, during the credits, Joe Perry comes back and does a cover of the Spider-Man song, just like he did in the 90s for...
that's the cartoon?
Yeah, it was like...
That's
meow, 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 meow. So good.
I don't think I've ever seen the 2.1 version. Oh, here we go. Peter's about to get one.
Yeah, like, oh, hey, it's that one guy from The Daily Show. And you know what's funny? He is a far more intimidating antagonist in this movie than he is in The Last Airbender.
That's hilarious. Oh, that movie was terrible. So.
Oh, we don't talk about that.
I feel like there should be an entire game. In thinking about this, watching this movie today for the show, I was thinking, like, how great would it have been if there was just like a little mini game where you're Peter Parker delivering pizzas, and then occasionally can kind of, it's like a not quite stealth game, but the stealth aspect would be like, can you become Spider-Man and deliver these pizzas briefly without the public seeing you?
I mean, you can kind of do that in the Spider-Man 2 game with the most stressed out Italian jig you will ever hear, where, you know, like from the, because that was in the Spider-Man 2 video game. Like, you could actually deliver pizzas as Spider-Man.
I don't remember. I'm like, and that sounds familiar now that you're saying it. By the way, did you catch that his helmet says Bleecker Street?
Yes,
which is obviously a real street. But I'm willing to bet that if we could see the actual address, I bet it's close to Doctor Strange. Isn't he on Bleecker Street?
That's totally like a little in joke that they had.
For sure, because Raimi loved that air. Oh, Donnell Rawlings.
Yep.
I always love seeing him show up and stuff. I just caught him at Dave Chappelle's thing a couple weeks ago.
Right on, man.
Yeah, he
That's
was interesting. I heard he's he's a funny dude. I love seeing him continuing to get work outside of Chappelle's show and little like bit.
You know who was
like
actually supposed to do that cameo?
No, who?
Stan Lee was originally supposed to do that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's actually an outtake of him where he goes, "Spider-Man stole that kid's sneakers." Oh, sneakers. So adorable.
That's amazing.
And there's Scott Spiegel, the guy, or the kid,
pizza recipient.
Yes, the guy who's about to steal the pizzas. Yeah, this guy right here. He's actually one of the screenwriters for Evil Dead.
Oh, cool. That's right.
Yeah.
So I love seeing Raimi always have the regulars show up.
Yeah, totally.
You know, where you're like,
totally.
oh, I've seen this dude before, you know.
Right. And then, of course, the most famous part of this movie, according to the internet,
is
pizza
the
time.
closet scene?
Well, the pizza time meme.
Oh, yeah.
I love how long and awkward this scene is.
Oh, for sure.
Like, this movie gets Peter Parker right on so many freaking levels. Because I noticed you said that you weren't a fan of how, like, bogged down he was. I
love it in these moments. So for me, dude, the thing that works so well about Spider-Man to me is that it is a little bit of like a power fantasy for this kid, right? Because he's like a dorky, nerdy guy, and he kind of becomes someone else when the suit's on. And you don't lose who Peter Parker is entirely, but it does a lot of things that I feel like, you know, as a young nerd myself, I related to, which was like, oh, he's just effectively, the suit is just providing him the confidence that he needs to be himself the rest of life. And I feel like that's a really interesting character thing. And so overall, like, they do a great job. They handle, like you said, I mean, and this is like me giving it a B+. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm like,
right.
I just wish I wish that Parker would exude that confidence when the suit came on. And yeah, shit gets real often. But you know what I mean? Like, I think something that the MCU Spider-Man movies have done really well, in particular Homecoming, was ride that line where you're like, you still understand Peter's plight. And now I do think this movie does a better job of shitting on Peter in like a, you know what I mean?
Yeah, properly.
Whereas Homecoming, when he puts the suit on, he's like a little like, oh, hey guys, yeah, no, now and he's kind of almost like doing a bit. I don't know. I love that. I love that duality a little bit. And I think that's the only thing the Raimi movies are missing is that they really went like grand, which I think is awesome. But I kind of love that Spider-Man's a little funny, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally dig that because I always said that, you know, Tobey Maguire is a great Peter Parker, not the best Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield, not a half-bad Spider-Man, terrible Peter Parker. Tom Holland is the perfect marriage of both of those characters.
I agree. You know, Homecoming was at a time where I was burnt out on Marvel movies, and I was like, oh, gosh, by the way, Elizabeth Banks showing up. Nobody remembers she's in this.
I know, right? Or Bill Nunn.
And Ted Raimi there, Sam Raimi's brother.
But Bill Nunn, fucking Radio Raheem, man.
Exactly. Kind of hilarious to see him in a somewhat thankless role in these movies. But
I know,
also
right?
Nice to see him working.
Yeah. And, dude, J.K. Simmons is fucking perfect. Like, I love that line. Miss Brandt, give me a violin.
Yeah. It's funny how ageless Elizabeth Banks is. I mean, this movie's almost 20 years old, and she looks the exact same.
Right, dude.
So she must have been like 18 in this movie.
Really? Wow.
No,
Actually,
I'm kidding. I don't know. I mean, I would
wonder-
assume she was young, but she's part of that whole clique with the.
She's
She
46
kind of got in
now.
with the state people. Oh yeah, so she would have been early 20s still though. I
Yeah.
love this.
Okay.
Scene where he's just getting rocked
Yeah.
by the books.
Well, the right here, that book hit that when he got hit with
That
the,
was
the
Sam
book
Raimi,
case.
right?
Yes, it totally was Sam Raimi. Because as Sam Raimi put, he's like, if I have a chance to beat up Tobey Maguire physically, I will.
Yeah.
So he cameoed himself in there.
I kind of
we
wonder if
have,
they didn't. I feel like they didn't like each other.
No, I think it was like a weird love-hate thing going on.
Well,
like,
and I feel like Sam has that with a lot of his actors because he's always the one dumping dirt on Bruce Campbell in the Evil Dead movies.
exactly.
Funny thing about Dylan Baker here playing Kurt Connors, I had not really seen Dylan Baker in a ton of stuff prior to this movie.
Yeah.
But like one of the things I had most recently seen, and I do not remember what it was, but in the movie he played like a really creepy child molester. So I had that like odd like internal reaction when he showed up on screen in this, and I was like, oh god,
Actually,
it's the pedo guy.
You know who else? Oh, you know who else he was? He was actually in Trains, Planes, and Automobiles. He was that weird hit guy who with the, you know. when he picks,
yeah.
Yeah. But you know who I always thought would have been a great Kurt Connors in this series, actually, to later become the Lizard, like in Spider-Man 4 or sometime down the line in the hypothetical, Spider-Man 4 or 5. I always thought William H. Macy would have been great as
that would have worked
Kurt
too.
Connors. Yeah, because he's got that right little meek thing, but the dude's also super talented and can be exceptionally intimidating when he wants to.
Oh, for sure. He's an actor.
Yes, and speaking of intimidating, we got James Franco returning, where I love how quick he switches tone of the scene, where he's like, yeah, you're taking some pictures. Like, he's like, oh, hi, Pete, it's been so long, I love you. He's been taking pictures of Spider-Man, I fucking hate you.
Yeah. I do like Franco's performance in this, too. It was interesting because, like, at least as I remember... We'll see if I agree with that at the end. That's how I should do this. But yeah, I remember he had a good run for a little bit here. This is a good get for him.
Yeah, totally. I also really love Rosemary Harris as May Parker. She
reminds me of like Silver Age Aunt May for sure.
Yeah, because I read the original, Stan Lee run, Steve Ditko and Stan Lee run from the '60s, like in graphic novel form. Like they were available at Barnes and Nobles and. Anytime, and because Aunt May is much older in that iteration, I always read Aunt May in her voice. So I guess you could call that a real big bump up from Rosemary Harris, and she is great in this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie and say I don't like the idea of using younger May in the new movies, but who's gonna complain? Aunt Tomei, as it were.
It's a different world.
Yeah, it is. But I'm like, I'm fine with them allowing goddesses to play Aunt May at this point. What a change.
They just keep getting younger. I mean, first we had Rosemary Harris, then we had Sally Field, who's kind of in her like late 50s, early 60s. Right. And now it's Marissa Tomei in her 30s or 40s.
I think she's got to be. I think Marissa Tomei's in her 50s, to be honest with you.
She just looks that good, I guess.
Yeah, I think sainthood does that for you.
I do really wish that they almost brought in sick Aunt May, because they kind of hint at it a little bit here and there, but it's not really a thing until like we get to 3. But yeah, like that was one of the things that I love about Peter Parker, especially in these movies, because 3 was where I actually got mad. I'm like, where he starts swinging around and is like, oh, the city loves me now. I'm like, shut the hell up, Peter. The city's supposed to hate you, and you're supposed to like climb over that shit like the character that you are.
Right, exactly.
Because like this one gets the sadness and the dourness so well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And it's actually times where it's just like, oh, fuck, it hurts.
And these scenes here with like May being super broke and her being like, just take my money, Peter.
It's not that much anyway.
Yeah, don't leave it here. I'm an older woman. You know, like,
well, still, she plays it so beautifully.
yeah. Oh no, I'm not trying to make fun of her performance. or
No,
anything like
no,
that. Just,
we don't want to. Well, we don't want anyone.
it's
like
it's
listening.
sort of an interesting Raimi vibe in general, where whenever he has to do serious emotions in anything he does, I think he's probably a fun, like, and I say weird in a fun, funny way. I think that's who he is as a person.
Yeah.
And so whenever I get scenes like these in his movies, it always feels so like kind of, I don't know. It's almost got this like, you know what it is? I think he really intentionally was trying to capture, now that I'm watching this again as like a real adult, but trying to capture that kind of Silver Age vibe in the tone of the scenes. Like, there's just something about the way they deliver the dialogue, even where I'm like, oh, this kind of has this like sort of old timey appeal that I bet the newer Marvel movies won't really feel like. They'll feel a little more. You know what I mean? Like, this
they're going to be a little bit
know,
more 90s, you know, or, you know, the ultimate age.
Just sort of like,
2000.
right, exactly. I feel like, and it, by the way, it was smart for them because they've got like a contained ecosystem. But I think this also speaks to the idea that at this point, Marvel was not at all the power they were, and Sam Raimi probably called the shots on a lot of this.
Yeah,
you know, where they were like, all right, here's like a list of rules you have to adhere to. So I think about that in some of these scenes where I'm just like, this is so interesting to me to see. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
No, you're totally right. Because, because that's probably another reason why this movie is so adored by me, because I read those Silver Age comics. I read all, and I even love the fact that, you know, when, you know, because like in, you know, year 2 or 3 of the comic run back in those days, you know, at first he was wearing just like either like Peter Parker's suit was just like literally like a real nerdy suit. But when he gets to college, he has that same fucking vest. And I'm like, oh my God, they even got the vest right.
Right. That's so fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
so
like, and it's a cool thing for the fans. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you see that shit rendered, but in a present day, I'm like, oh shit, they actually get it. They understand me. This lonely little kid who reads comic books alone at lunch. But also, you know what's really great is that there are retreaded scenes like this one. You know, we got to have another talk over the trash can lids. But this movie in no way, shape, or form feels like a rehash of Spider-Man 1. Even though there's a lot of, you know, repeated beats and whatnot. But, but I think the whole reason why this works so well is because they stated specifically that we're going to take beats away from Spider-Man, Richard Donner's Superman 2. You know,
right.
Like let's
I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that vibe a little bit too.
Like, we're still going to play it straight. We're going to build off of the characters a little bit more, but we're also going to give our characters such anxiety about his powers that he ultimately gives them up, and he has to get them back again. Okay, this little when he gets back to his apartment, because apparently he's moved out of Harry Osborn's apartment,
which makes sense because he takes pictures of the guy that killed me.
Yeah, I love these guys. This is the American housing situation right now.
Yeah, all of us are being berated by one of the guys that took over the plane in Air Force One,
specifically a fucking Russian. It's Russian collusion, man. Yeah,
sorry, doesn't pay the rent. You're like, this whole movie was actually supposed to be an anti-landlord presentation that they rewrote into a Spider-Man sequel.
Yep. But I love the name Dickovich, because at first when he said that, when I was a kid, I'm like, did he just say Dickovich?
Nice. Well, it's Ditkovich, right? Because I'm assuming it was a Steve Ditko Easter egg.
Yep. That's what I found out later. I love how dank his apartment is. That is actually a really nice studio apartment for downtown New York City. Now that you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming what his rent is, judging from his lifestyle in general.
Yeah. It's tough being Spider-Man. And the point where there's actually a communal bathroom. And I love this, where he's...
Yeah.
This little bit is just a great comedy bit. No. Oh, and here we are, the film's villain, Alfred Molina. Dude, this was...
I love, what's his name walking in here, too, with the sunglasses on, like he's a movie star.
Yeah, James Franco walking
so
in.
Funny.
But, yeah, dude, Alfred Molina, this guy, this is where he made Doc Ock, like, really fucking famous. Like, I didn't know him too well before I'd seen this movie, so for a while he was the Doc Ock guy for me, which I'm sure he's like, oh, you fucking comic book fans. Or I gotta say it in a British accent. Oh, you wanker comic book fans.
Interesting fellow, your friend, yeah.
But, yeah, dude, like, I've gone to, like, really respect him for a lot of the stuff that he's done. I mean, you know, everything from his first little bit in Raiders of the Lost Ark to his role in Chocolate and that crazy bit part in Boogie Nights.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, although, you know what's really great about Alfred Molina, and speaking of his other roles, he was doing Broadway while he was shooting this movie, and it was Fiddler on the Roof, bringing back our little Fiddler on the Roof thing. Yeah. But every once in a while, in between takes, like when he was in the Doc Ock bit, they were prepping for a stunt, and he would just be going, "If I were a rich man, dum, all night long I bitty bitty bum, if I were a wealthy man," and the puppeteers would actually move the arms in sync.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, there's actually a little DVD Easter egg bonus feature where if you look just in the right spot, there's actually footage of that. And it's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'll link it in the description for you guys later.
Yeah, I would, and I will have to find it there too. Or you can privately message me.
Oh, yes.
Why does the actress? What should I recognize the actress that plays his wife from? You got anything on her?
Oh,
I meant
shit.
to. I feel like this, and it's funny because I remember thinking this the last time I saw the movie, which would have been, I don't know. I feel like I haven't seen these at least. I don't think I've watched any of these since the MCU started happening. If you can believe that. I'm not a big rewatcher usually, unless it's like something that has, like, I don't know. I always feel like the things I end up rewatching are kind of deep cuts because, you know, I can't imagine, I don't know. I'd never run into someone who like really is like, oh, I haven't seen it and I'm interested in it simultaneously, if that makes sense. Yeah. Because I feel like if you like Spider-Man or comic stuff, you've seen it already. But yeah, it's been a long time. And I feel like every time I see her, I'm like, why does she look so familiar?
She was in Star Trek Insurrection, maybe?
That is totally what it is from. That is totally what it's from. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yep, Thank you. Yep. No, I feel like such a dork right now. That's amazing.
Well, that's what happens when you have Google on your side.
Yeah, right? Well, I'm trying to do that thing where if I know if I do try to do that, I will end up staring at my phone and doing the sorry, what we're exactly.
I love this is so cute that he's actually reading poetry but doing public laundry with your Spider-Man suit. So good. Crazy. And then to make it a little bit more dour and just to beat on poor Peter Parker even more. Fucking colors ran in the wash.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
You'd think he would have noticed that.
Right.
Oh my, trailer shot.
And the useful and it's funny too cuz he's like still in great shape, but he's not as in great a shape as he was in the first movie's trailer shot.
Well, you know what's crazy about Tobey Maguire's poor body this entire time, cuz literally a year before he had to lose like 50 pounds or something like that
for Seabiscuit, right?
Yeah, to play a jockey for Seabiscuit. So first the dude had to bulk up. Well, first he had to be kind of all thin for the early Peter Parker stuff that they shot. Then he had to beef up for Spider-Man, lose the weight for Seabiscuit. He hurt his back during the making of that when he got thrown off a horse. And then he had to gain that weight all the way back for this movie, all within the span of like 2.5 years. That's nuts.
Crazy to think about, isn't it?
I know, dude.
Dedication.
Acting, like people always say, "Oh, acting must be one of the greatest and easiest jobs." No, it's not.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it that you just don't think about.
Exactly.
And most people never. But I feel like that's the case for everyone in every job.
Yeah, no,
Like,
totally.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, wait, what's oh? Nice.
Oh, that's so. God, it's so Peter Parker. I fucking love it.
Yeah, and he's
like-
still like, okay. It's also lightweight Charlie Brown.
It kind of is.
They're like, oh, let me pull this away from you now that you have it.
Of course, it wouldn't be fucking Spider-Man if we didn't have like a really cool action chase. I love this. Boom.
Yeah, and the kid's reaction is so funny.
Right.
Right? Do they say something stupid? Oh, that's great. My mom, I just never believed her.
I love that, man.
I always feel like one of my frustrations about hero characters in general is I always feel like there is an easier way to do the crime fighting that they do. But like,
Yeah.
and this is just something I need to explore in my own writing. But like, this is a great example of, in my opinion, great use of his power and skill set, right? It's quick, it's effective, and he's not even here anymore, right? He just like did this and moved on and we're good to go. I love that. But I always feel like there's got to be this weird ego moment to a certain extent with heroes where they like have to, and this is what a great little effect shot there.
I know,
but there's always
right?
that ego moment where they like, I gotta be boots on the ground. I gotta be the guy in this car. Where at this point I'm like, couldn't you have just done the same web trick but to this car and then let the cops deal with it?
Oh, I love this little bit right here. Fucking web balls, man. That was because I actually remember reading, because I read about it might have actually been Nick Magazine, back when it was actually kind of cool. But I remember reading about an interview with Tobey Maguire, like, are there any new powers that Spider-Man is going to show off in the sequel? And he's like, there might be web balls. And I saw that, I'm like, oh fuck, there's actually web balls. That's awesome.
Yeah. I always thought that was. I always had a lot of questions about that because of him having the organic shooters and how that worked.
Did he just steal that those thieves' car?
I thought so, right?
Oh shit! And then of course it wouldn't be a Sam Raimi movie without the great,
That's right.
one, the only Bruce Campbell. If Chins Could Kill, great book by the way. But Bruce Campbell just has so much fun with these things because from what I'm told, he is like one of the great nerd icons, but he is also the least nerdy person you will actually ever meet.
But unlike a lot of people like that, where I'd say Harrison Ford's a good example, but
Yes.
Harrison Ford hates it.
Yes.
But Bruce Campbell seems to be like, no, I'm really glad you all love me. Like, he always
Right?
seems like that dude.
Yeah, he revels in it, in the fame. Oh, I love this little bit where we get our actual Heroes theme song, the real theme song.
Right. I was like, woof. Did they get in trouble?
But I love how they play it really off key and in a really weird New York way.
Right. Oh, for sure.
That's good. That's good. It just occurred to me the only way to make this scene even more sad and even more cartoonishly dour is to have it start raining.
Oh, yeah. No, they do that later in the movie and then
Yes.
go one step further with the rain song. I remember that being a moment like, I get it. Peter's life sucks. Just go back to the plot. Let's see if I feel that way today.
I'm honestly kind of here for it.
John Jameson.
No, that one astronaut that I saved. Issue Comics Spider-Man
Yeah.
#1, Amazing Spider-Man #1, 1963.
Jay Frazier is especially effective. I love the fake reviews.
Right.
And I always think I always hate that he does. He's like, oh, I'm just not even going to go over there. Whereas he could have just not been a total dick and been like, hey, Mary Jane, I totally was 5 minutes late and I missed call. I didn't realize they wouldn't let me in after they had closed the doors. And,
I think he's just like,
I love that shot.
Yeah, dude, the spider cam with this.
Yeah, it was just such an interesting. It's like a weird, cool way to put you in there.
Yeah.
Because Raimi often uses a lot of like first person perspective shots in his movies in general, which I think is a great way of really putting the audience in the character's, spot or shoes rather.
Yeah. They're POV.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, the spider cam, that was the pulley system rig that was computer controlled that you can go up and down and you undercrank so it actually looked like it was going even faster when you played it
that's
back.
cool.
Yeah, man, it was actually developed by John Dykstra for the first movie, but
Cool.
it's been kind of used. A very similar kind of rig has been used since the early '90s. It wasn't just really perfected until the first Spider-Man movie, because they only used it once, which was the very end. Now in this one, they've been using it all the time.
Yeah, where did they use it? You mean like the whole outro sequence?
Yeah, the whole outro sequence
Okay.
was. That's
That
when
makes
they
sense.
really that's the only
Listen
time
up.
they actually use the Spider-Man, the spider cam. Here in
Hal
this one, they
Sparks-
just go all over there. Yeah,
Hal Sparks here looks so 2004, and I can't really put my finger on why, but I think it's the earring and the hair combination.
Oh,
which is even funnier to me because he pretty much looks exactly like he's like styled like Andrew Garfield in the bad Spider-Man
Oh my
movies.
God, you're totally.
He's got that
right.
same hair. It's really weird. I mean, seriously, it looks like he's gonna go sing, I don't know, a Trapped song or something.
with his dog, naturally.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, exactly.
But I do
Too
love
funny.
the little bit that goes like, looks uncomfortable. That suit looks uncomfortable. Gets kind of itchy, and rides up in the crotch.
Dude, so good. Like a clever little beat like that, and then
Oh,
man,
dude.
I remember they had they put those signs up in New York for a while leading up to
Yeah.
this, and I remember like before it leaked that nobody realized it was for this at first. I remember there was like some post about it. They're like, "Is she doing like a fragrance ad or something?" And that's what Emma Rose is. And then
Right.
shortly after, they're like, "No, we're shooting Spider-Man here."
And they're like, oh shit, that's even better.
Yeah. Oh, dude, so funny.
Hey, back when they actually still had payphones.
Yeah.
You don't see those anymore. But yeah, I do love that look that he gives to those posters as he's walking by. He's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, come on, man. And I also love the fact that the bike he has to drag his now collapsed bike. Which
that
just
sucks.
because apparently they wrecked like a shitload of those, because that thing's like a vintage bike that they got, and they actually destroyed most of it, and they were like, we're gonna get rid of it, and Sam Raimi's like, no, wait, we gotta have it for this really we gotta have it for Sad Peter.
Exactly.
So that was actually one of the destroyed bikes that they killed in one of the stunts, which I thought was really funny.
Ugh.
I don't have 50 cents. I don't have money. I'm a radioactive millennial.
Right. It's true. Unfortunately,
Yeah, dude. Seriously, like,
it's an
When
Imagine
Peter-
Dragons song.
because like that's one of the things that I freaking love about something that Stan Lee was so smart about back in the day is like giving a superhero problems, and problems that are actually enhanced by your powers, not they don't solve them.
Right. Oh, for
Uh,
sure.
And I just
It's almost
love
like-
that.
Yeah, it's almost like Parker doesn't have too many problems outside of the ones that he kind of almost creates himself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I mean, some things like some of his confidence comes back when after he gets his powers and he's able to deal with the bully a little bit more. But he still has to deal with them different ways. Like, oh shit, I can't hurt this guy, otherwise my secret will be revealed.
This sequence is lovely here.
Oh shit, yeah.
I like the set. Again, it's one of those things where it's because it's like not as much of a factory production as the Marvel movies have kind of become. And again, I don't mean that to sound negative. It's just that
Yeah.
they all have a shared visual style, all that, whatever. But I like that this is different than that, but also recognizable and similar. Like it still looks right, but it doesn't look quite the same way that I know that this would look in the current Marvel universe. By the way, speaking of Doc Ock, I really think the way they handled him in the new game was incredible. I thought that was a great story and wonderful way of handling that.
Yeah, dude, because like in the game, he like starts to deteriorate mentally, and you're like, oh my god, I know what's going to happen, and I'm loathing that it's going to happen.
Yep, especially because you're like, oh, what a great relationship, and they do such a great job of building the dynamic over the course of it, so that when it gets there at the end, and I love you knew. I always think about that scene, and if that, I won't say any more in case somebody wants to play the game because it's still kind of new. But oof, love it.
Oh, dude, those are some amazing, because that's all practical. I love how practical they made the arms, because they just did a test with some dryer tubes to see, and with some puppeteers to see if they could make it work, and then they made these amazing death flower claws with a spinal column on top of another spinal column. Like, I love the design for these arms. And again,
they look incredible.
Those are just puppeteers with the puppeteers, like, digitally removed.
Right.
Like, and it looks amazing.
Are there actually like people standing with them, or are they on wires?
Both.
Like marionette style. Okay.
Honestly, it differs from shot to shot.
That makes sense, depending on what they need.
And plus, there are some shots, like the wide one earlier. There was one where literally the entire thing was just CG. And that inhibitor chip that he mentioned, apparently there was one draft of the script where that's the reason why Spider-Man was losing his powers. Because Doc Ock was apparently the guy who engineered the super spider and used that inhibitor chip to drain his powers. But they thought it would be more interesting if it was, stress and anxiety. That's just a cooler little character thing, I think.
It makes way more sense than having like this, I don't know, grand
scientific magic thingy.
Yeah, where instead it makes way more sense that dude, I mean, what's really funny to me is I was thinking about this earlier when we first kind of mentioned it, but like, I don't know if you've ever read James Cameron's Spider-Man script, but there's a lot, and I'm sure that this is still kind of carries through some of the other Spider-Man stuff in general, but there's definitely a bunch of the sort of this, in Cameron's script in particular, there's a lot of like almost like puberty references and kind of like a sexual awakening at times. I remember there's a scene in that script where Parker wakes up and he pretty much has like the equivalent of a wet dream, but he like wakes up and he's all like webbed up to a bridge or something absurd like that. But I kind of always joke to myself that like Spider-Man's getting like weird performance ED here, right? Because like stress and anxiety, and it's funny because like those are main issues with actual sexual dysfunction. Yeah. And I just think it's funny how much they tied it into, and also the fact that like he's literally shooting these gummy, I said gummy with a G, by the way, but maybe the other way works too. These gummy ropes. All right, so this shot of Ock's glasses here, where he's looking at the reflection. This is so silly, but it always drove me nuts that the reflection's only in the one eye.
Right? Why couldn't have like CG?
And I'm sitting there watching. I was like, I just flashed back.
In...
It's such a silly thing. It's just in his right eye, and I mean, it's a practical shot, but it was one of those things that you'd think as somebody visually like, all right, do we want this just in one eye or both? He is staring at a giant globe,
Like, let's actually put those in his goggles. They could have CG'd it. And that would have been fine if it's in service to the style.
What's funny, well, in the other shots, when he moves his head more, it's out of both. And then I'm like, well, that also works. You know what I mean? Like, you almost don't see the reflection of most of the other scene. It's such a stupid nitpicky thing, but I always think about that whenever I see that scene. It's been so long, I can't believe I remember that.
Well, do you know who gave Alfred Molina acting tips on this move? Because this was like the first time they had the full 4 arms on set. Do you know who got to give him like a little bit of acting tips?
No,
fucking William Dafoe.
Oh, that makes sense.
Willem Dafoe was apparently on set. They heard he was shooting, and he's like, "Oh, I'll visit the set, say hi to the old fan." There, look, and that.
So that one was a CG reflection, yeah,
totally. And look, another CG reflection with the glass.
Right.
How did you miss that, Sam Raimi?
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, maybe he did miss it. Maybe he wanted it to look that way. Because
I guess.
that's another thing. It's me being nitpicky.
Yeah.
But it's also could just be me going, I don't entirely have the same feelings as the person who legitimately made this.
Yeah.
But I've also never made a huge budget film, so who am I to talk? That's
Exactly.
right. Someone who wants to make a huge budget film.
Pay me.
Yeah.
Sony,
I mean,
come and hire
really
me.
just want to be talent, but I'll
Yeah.
make my stuff so that I get the jobs. I love those lenses Oakley made for his suit.
Yeah, that was really cool. But yeah, apparently Willem Dafoe was on location while they were shooting this scene here.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I'll say hi to the friends and like say hi to everyone. And then apparently he came up with the idea of having, because he wasn't supposed to be in this one when he, starts haunting Harry Osborn.
Right.
But while he was on set, he's like, oh, how cool would it be if I came back as like, King Hamlet haunting his son.
That's all. Yeah, so smart too. I love that scene.
Yeah. Love this hero shot of Tobey Maguire.
Godspeed, Spider-Man. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now we got the most Evil Dead out of a non-Evil Dead movie in this sequence right here. This is so fucking cool. Like,
what's funny too is like Raimi hasn't really done anything visually like that in a while, and I remember being really excited for what was the one he did with Alison Lohman a few years back as her Justin Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah,
I remember thinking, I was like, we're gonna get some craziness, and the seance scene in that is nuts, but this is just so intense and terrifying and crazy. It cracks me up. Like it's so beautiful. It's
so cartoonishly. Like, who has a surgical buzzsaw and a surgical chainsaw?
Oh, for sure.
Like, although I love the characterization that they do, because apparently they shot this with the arms first, just as a test to see what the hell they could do. So this was literally just Sam Raimi having fun as a test.
Right.
But it wound up so good, they were like, let's put this in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, the shadow.
The way they use the shadows and the staging,
the
shots
light and the sparks, and oh my god, the electrocution. And the nails.
Doesn't she like scrape the floor with her nails in a minute?
Yeah.
I feel like I had that visual locked in my
Yeah,
head.
there it is.
I want to know what they used to make the floor so it would do that when she...
I don't know, man, but it looks fucking great.
Yeah. It's probably just like clay of some sort. Yeah, I love that you had that moment, too, where you're like, oh, is he about to go full Evil Dead on this?
Yeah, he just did. So good, though. Like, Sam Raimi is the only person who would have made this sequence like this.
Right.
Love that POV of the fact that each individual arm has cameras. Like, that's cool. I also really love that one shot where they're just moving around and Doc is completely unconscious. That was always a creepy shot to me, because it's it's
when
just
he like wakes
arms.
up and sees the death and destruction he's got
Yeah.
left.
Oh, this is such a good shot with the Dutch lighting,
Yeah.
channeling his inner Darth Vader.
Yeah, right?
Also love his build. It's absolutely just right. Like, he looks like he's like a boxer from the 50s.
That's a great description.
Well, I think that's what he was going for, or either
Yeah,
a
he's
circus
thick,
strongman.
as the kids would say. Yeah.
Yes. Love that shot. Dude, the puppet work on this movie is just so amazing. Because, like, you see shots like this and they're CG, but because they actually made practical stuff and they had them on the sets, that helped the CG blend so beautifully,
Right.
Because, there's the Flatiron Building is the Daily Bugle again. But, yeah, dude, I've always said, like, if you're going to do special effects, have something, and if you're going to use CG, build it first and then CG it. Because if you have something on the set where light and shadows can interact, it'll register so much more, and it will help the artists out so much. You know,
Oh, for sure.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah, right.
Hey, you know what's fucking funny? Another little Doctor Strange thing. Was this whole movie like a real subliminal tape to Disney Marvel to be like, hey, can I have a Doctor Strange movie?
In 16 years.
Exactly.
So funny to think about.
Yeah, he's gonna be doing what was it? Multiverse of Madness, I think it's called.
I am very curious as to how Sam Raimi is going to work inside of the Marvel machine. I'm super curious. It's one of those things I'm a little nervous about. I'm a little apprehensive because he's like, a creative.
He's Sam Raimi, man. Like,
all of the people like him have washed out of Marvel before they get to make their movies. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like Edgar Wright. Anyone that's like got a somewhat singular vision. But that said, I think Raimi kind of in a weird way was the beginning or like the how should I say this? Like the foundation for a lot of the visual style, because I would argue that this movie probably influenced a lot of how the MCU works, looks, moves. You know? It's like this kind of visually with John Favreau's I don't know why I said that way. John Favreau's kind of sensibilities, but I want to see these puppet people do like raptors or something.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? I get that. It's like that / dinosaurs, other dinosaurs / like snakes.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I actually got like a little bit of, creepy Adam and Eve's serpent sort of temptation sort of thing going with
for
this
sure.
scene, which I freaking
and I love that all of the.
I
I really love that they all kind of have a slightly different personality too.
Yeah.
And then like two of the arms have like the more scary looking, like these two that are up front have like the more aggressive looking, like
death flower
pincers.
Look to it.
Yeah. And then the other ones are like, oh, right, they're like sleek, and they've got inside the little, the really small detailed ones, which is very interesting. Again, I keep thinking about how the production design of this movie, how good it looks.
Right.
And how many scenes they just have are just Doc Ock talking to himself.
Yeah, he was totally just straight up Golluming here.
Yeah.
But what was really crazy, because I remember reading that Alfred Molina actually named all 4 tentacles. The bottom 2, which were the larger ones, were Harry and Larry, and then the top 2 were Flo and Mo. And Flo, Flo was slightly shorter than the other ones. I think it was like the top right one, and it was operated actually by a female operator. So Flo is the only female tentacle here.
Well, I'm just glad to see tentacle representation.
Right. Tentacle lives matter.
Yeah, there you go. The power of the sun in the palm of my hand. I want to see this done like a play.
Right? Oh, just bring back Alfred Molina. He'd eat that shit up.
Yeah, what's he been up to lately?
Oh, man, I forget. Because I know he's done some more Broadway. He's done a lot of voice work, actually. Like, a lot of voice work. I'm hearing like, oh, shit, that's Alfred Molina. Whenever I'm watching, like, an animated movie. Like, he's done some TV and whatnot, but...
Oh, Joel McHale, did he just show up?
Yes.
Joel McHale, who obviously had some hairline work done. I'm on to you, Joel. I'm not mad about it. We all should do it. But
yeah.
What if I told you the greatest comeback wasn't Joel McHale's career?
And I still love how he's still kind of playing those kind of dickish character bits.
Yeah. Kind of like he's not a super awful guy, but he's also not kind enough to like be good to you.
Okay, something that's been bothering me that I just realized.
Hit me.
Why the hell is the vault door in the lobby and not like in some deep back room?
Yeah. Well, because it's a movie. It's definitely, that's like, right? It's movie logic.
Definitely like, movie logic. But you know what? I'm here for it. Oh, and I love this line.
That's great.
That's a great line. Also another really great line.
All of them.
Oh, yeah. Dude, so good. And I love the fact that he still has like the glasses look, but he has sunglasses now.
Yeah.
The trench coat, all the costume design is fantastic. Okay, now we have like one of the few quips.
Yeah. And it's
that's-
not great.
I'll take it. I'm taking
It's
that.
better than the only one we got in the previous movie, which was out of your mind, Gobby, or something like that. I remember thinking, like, who allowed this to be said? I can't imagine being at Tobey Maguire's level of fame when he became Spider-Man, and not being like, guys, I'm not saying that.
Oh, Jesus. Crush his head like an egg. Dude, these action sequences were so amazing.
Yeah.
Especially when you
for
know.
the time.
Yeah, dude, because you know, like, half this shit is, like, a lot of really great special effects and stunt work, all shot practically with a little bit of CGI to add on top to spice it up, you know?
It's like Spider-Man is the most CG thing in this movie. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's great, and then sometimes he's a little fake, but it's all good.
Yeah.
I
No,
love the
seriously.
rig they use to do their scenes.
Yes. Okay.
Sam,
so
go ahead.
Yeah, well, we were just like, okay, so we had a little bit of Evil Dead. Here's a little bit more Evil Dead for you.
And then this one here's her running into the camera and screaming. Sam Raimi loves that shot.
Well, that's
It's
such a Sam Raimi shot, though.
Yeah, oh, for sure. He is that is like, he's like, we need to have a screaming woman in this next moment.
Oh, dude.
I love it.
Man, okay, so you know what was really crazy that I heard about?
Yeah.
So Alfred Molina really didn't want to do a whole lot of his stunts, mostly to not take away from, like, actual... Oh, Stanley!
There's our boy.
Yeah. Real quick cameo. That's, like, the quickest Stanley cameo in all Marvel history.
Yeah.
But no, apparently, like, Alfred Molina didn't want to do a whole lot of stunts because he said, I just don't want to take away from the actual stunt work of the stuntmen.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, Rosemary Harris did most of her stunts. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I know.
It is.
She was, like, in her late 60s at the time, man. But for the
Insane.
most part, like...
She was only that old? I felt like she would have been older than that, even.
Maybe. Like, how old was... Because I forget. But
Let's
all
see
I know
how-
is she
she's
did most of
92
them.
now, so she would have been like, it was 16 years ago.
Yeah,
so it would have been like,
she
she'd have been
in her
like 78.
70s.
Yeah, 76.
But yeah,
Now,
she
thankfully,
did most
she
of the
didn't have a
work.
ton of stunts, but, you know,
It's
what a
still like,
badass.
damn, right?
That's great.
You know, I love how they have these beautiful Shakespearean monologues and this great character depth, and they split it up with, or they break up the dialogue with stupid comic book dialogue like that.
Yeah.
And then
Shame on you.
this little great moment where she smacks him. Dude, that's so cool. Like, don't fuck with Aunt May, man. She might be an
Yeah.
old lady, but
She's
man,
doing all of her stunts, dude.
I mean, you know, some of that's like a lot of that CG and whatnot, but
Sure.
for some of the more
sky
when
looks
you-
really grainy, but I also I keep noting, this is cracking me up, all of the extras are all like
lady, really nice looking ladies.
well, and they're always dressed in like one of them was dressed somewhat provocatively. I'm like,
yeah.
what am I not knowing about Sam Raimi?
Well, there's actually another shot literally coming up as Spider-Man flies away, just like right here.
Yeah, it's like two more of the. It's just funny. I'm like, well, I mean, I guess it's just a slice of life.
Oh,
Man.
that shot, man, dude.
Just
Like
thinking about swinging and how freeing that must be.
Yep. I mean, dude, that's when, you know, like, this was kind of like a high point for being a Spider-Man fan, because when you see that rendered on screen, it's like, oh my god, how much could it get any better? Sadly, at least not for a long time would it not get any better. Because, man, Spider-Man 3 was Well, let's just say that I kind of look like Harry Osborn right here after I saw Spider-Man 3.
Sipping on your blue flute.
Leave the bottle, damn it. I saw Spider-Man 3 in theaters.
Yeah.
No
I'm
lie,
the
though.
new hobgoblin now. I love goblins.
No lie, though. That was, I was like, I must have been, I think it was like 15 or 16 at the time when I saw Spider-Man 3. But that was the first time I walked out of a theater, turned to my mom who took me, and straight up said, that movie sucked ass. She kind of, slapped me on the back of the head, but whatever. like, it's just like,
thanks
Jesus.
for nothing. So funny.
I know.
I love this setup here. I never noticed that this was cool too. I keep going back to set design and production design of this movie.
Well,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I never noticed how cool all the spaces are.
Yeah, the there's all these crazy sets. I mean, you have Doc Ock's apartment. You have the gala here. You've got the pier sequence with running water. It's that had to be built on an angle to make it look like it's being deteriorated, and
Right.
you have all these crazy setups, and then you have an entire train sequence in the downtown in the Loop of Chicago, with that beautiful train sequence towards the end of the movie. But yeah, holy shit, the sets are crazy in this movie. I think there was like 100 different sets. Oh, geez, poor Parker just can't catch a fucking break with these things. Like, he can't even get free hors d'oeuvres.
Free hors d'oeuvres. Free the political prisoner hors d'oeuvres.
You literally should have done this like the night of, and not wait like a week and a half later. You know?
Yeah, but that's. I think this is one of those things that to me, I'm like, this makes so much sense for Peter's character. Well, it's like that thing where Peter by himself, it makes a ton of sense. There's that part of me that's like, the way I feel like the way Peter goes back and forth on her all the time is really frustrating in this franchise.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want to, call out actors or anything, but Kirsten Dunst she's a really wonderful actress. Probably one of my favorite movies of all time is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and she's absolutely fucking brilliant in that. But as Mary Jane Watson, she's fine as a performance, but dear God, what the hell were they smoking when they wrote her? Because man, it's like half the time you don't even want her to be saved.
Well, I think I think their chemistry kind of works in this movie.
Yeah,
in a weird way, I kind of feel like she's a better Gwen Stacy, if that makes sense. So that when they drop Gwen Stacy in sort of out of nowhere in the third one, I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah.
I thought it would have been interesting if they had killed off Mary Jane, but that would have been the first big internet backlash, probably.
Probably.
Oh, here's Harry to get drunk and mad again.
Yeah.
Don't act like you're my friend. Oh, he's like, you stole MJ from me? God.
Like, dude.
Yeah, I like that he's like, you stole MJ from me, and he's just like...
Oh, Jesus. Something tells me, that slap was unscripted, and they just kind of went with it. Because that is, like, a real earnest moment.
Oh, for sure.
Man, Peter Parker just, dear God, he is having the worst night. And now he has to take the damn picture too. Like, Jesus. I remember watching this movie, I'm like, oh my God, I can't even imagine that kind of level of anguish. And then 2020 came back around, and I'm like, oh. Boy, I really wish I had some spider powers to forget about life for a while and just swing gracefully through the buildings and heavens of New York
until he has ED again.
Uh-oh.
I even love that that's kind and here's the Seabiscuit, right? Well, so something I always like to talk about with this movie is that there is a lot of behind the scenes turmoil on this production.
Yeah.
Because I've heard, stories of Tobey Maguire not being particularly easy to work with. And apparently he asked for like a ton more money and they kind of met some of his demands. And then there was a big issue about that for a while. And then he really played up an injury he got on Seabiscuit that you mentioned earlier.
Yep.
And so the scene where they just did the back thing was apparently kind of a little gag
Yeah.
to make fun of him. But this is, I don't know how publicized this is. And it's funny because this actor made it into a Spider-Man movie last year. But he was almost replaced with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently they had him on set in the suit and stuff. I think it got pretty
damn
far
close.
along. I would love to, that's a podcast I'd love to do with Jake Gyllenhaal. Is just ask him dude, what happened there?
Yeah,
and if it's
dude,
only
I would
10
love to see
minutes,
that.
it's still I got Jake Gyllenhaal on my podcast. So.
Right? It'd be a really cool little interview because, I've always wanted to hear what that is about. But to be fair, in all fairness, the fact that Tobey Maguire came back and delivered such a wonderful performance in this movie, I'm kind of glad that Jake Gyllenhaal had to wait before he got into a Spider-Man movie. So, because I'm still here for Tobey Maguire, It wasn't until he got really fucking off the rails goofy for Spider-Man 3 where I'm like, okay, it's time for you to fuck off. Bring in the new guy.
Yeah, right? We're not going to tolerate.
Nah.
This scene was always silly to me.
Oh, the with the doctor where he's like, yeah, in my dream, I'm Spider-Man.
And
I love the fact,
oh, so you're Spider-Man. It's fine.
Dude, it's fucking New York, man. Come on, I've heard some weirder shit than that. But apparently, there's this scene's even longer in the director or the 2.1 or the director's cut or whatever the fuck whatever the fuck you want to call it. But he has this long thing I used to dream about being a football player too, and he goes on this long, weird spiel about it, and then he eventually leads back to his point. And it's really silly to watch. Spider-Man 2.1, I have issues with it, and yet there are scenes that I freaking love. So it's kind of a grab bag. I
wonder if I ever saw 2.1. I feel like it, but I can't think of it.
They ran a sort of halfway cut on FX for a while because FX has the rights to this. So they had they definitely had the extended action sequences, which I still don't know why they cut because those action sequences are amazing. But some of the talking scenes were a little bit what?
Well,
but I still, if I really had to choose between them, I'd still probably prefer this version. It's just the one that I remember, and it's a little bit better paced, I think. We got Cliff Robertson back as Uncle Ben. I really do like the setup where they're back in the car right before he left and saw him for the last time.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's a Sam Raimi movie, so we got to have that car featured somewhere in this movie. Yeah.
I remember a few things. I remember being in high school. I was really into Army of Darkness, and my mom. This was this would have been the late 90s, so eBay was just kind of becoming a thing, and internet shopping wasn't huge. But every so often, my parents would be way ahead of the curve on shit like that, where they're like, well, it's still a fucking company. I don't, the internet's going to be a thing. So, and I remember her secretly eBaying me the Army of Darkness director's cut, which now is easy to find. But in the 90s, when that movie barely existed, it was on this gold case, has this over the top drawing of Bruce Campbell. But around that same time, I was, it was around me learning to drive. And I remember us repeatedly finding the Sam Raimi car all over town. And I kept going, man, I should get that. That'd be hilarious.
Right.
I didn't because I was like, I don't want to buy an old problem more than likely. But still to this day, sort of regret it.
Oh, well. Maybe sometime when you're retired. And then this shot coming up right here. Yeah.
Spider-Man, no more. It's the cover of that issue.
Amazing Spider-Man number 50. I fucking love, because I remember reading that particular story growing up before this movie came out. Like, even as a little kid, I was reading these comics. And when I saw this on the big screen, I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool. You know, I didn't say those words, but I was like, yeah.
You're like, fuck. I'm just screaming, fuck.
And then we have the weirdest part of this movie. But
this is the precursor
reason,
this is the scene that lets you know what was going to happen in Spider-Man 3.
A little bit.
This is the warning.
But it's the weirdest scene in this movie, but for some reason, and I cannot articulate why, it actually fucking works.
It's because you want it to work, Tim.
I guess. Like, well, no, I even remember watching the movie.
It's really not. It's really not bad. It's a little on the nose, but aside from that, you're totally right.
Yeah, because you're like, this is so weird, and this should not be working. But for some reason, god damn it, this scene works.
Yeah. They all sell it.
You know what? I guess it's because it's so earnest to nerdy, geeky, good Peter Parker. And the fact that emo Peter Parker was such a misstep.
Yeah.
That it really took a bad misstep when it decided to do another number like this, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Like, it was like, let's not take a misstep with Peter Parker. Let's literally just yeet it off the cliff.
Right. You mean Yeeter Parker?
Yeeter Parker.
.23 electron volts.
But
we were talking about the movie cars before. I've been thinking that my famous person money is going to go to
Freeze
buying.
frame.
Yeah, that's so good. But buying cars from movies, but it's all going to be like nothing. You know, some you'd say that they'd be like, oh, like the DeLorean or like the Ghostbusters hearse. Like, nah, man.
Yeah.
This one's like a Toyota Corolla. It was light blue. Like, it's just regular looking cars. I think that's a good bit. I'm gonna write that down in my notes for a skit,
do it. That'd be fucking great. And fucking Mary Jane's like, holy fucking shit, what the hell are you doing here? I thought I don't like you.
Oh, and that guy. Why do I know that actor too?
Oh shit,
he's been in some other stuff too.
I feel like I should. You're right.
I know it. His name is Reed Diamond. I knew it immediately. He is all right. I don't want to spoil this, but it's like he's in a few episodes of my favorite show of all time called The Shield, and he's been in some other stuff too. But yeah, if I say too much about his character, it's very spoilery.
Right.
But especially for the pilot episode itself. But I was like, man, that guy looks familiar. Oh, I know why. Don't say anything.
There's a lot of really great little bit cameos. Like, can we just become like low-key friends with Sam Raimi and maybe we'll wind up in a Marvel movie?
You know, that's the goal. I've been sending him clippings of my hair for 15 years.
Mostly at pubes, right?
That's right. Well, no. I only send him mustache trimmings. I don't want it to be weird.
Oh, shit. But yeah, man, Mary Jane is just such a weird character in these movies because you know, like I said, I've read a lot of the comics, and she is so different than she is because you know she's a lot more peppy and you know a little high energy and you know and a lot of that is to hide you know a lot of the sadness that she got growing up in her personal life. But she's still like you know got extremely high energy, very creative, and very much you know just a real likable gal next door. This Mary Jane always felt like she was just a little bit too dour, like Peter Parker. Like
everybody, all of the emotions of this movie are that way. That's like, I think that's like the thing that I think you just articulated what I struggled to really say myself. Is I feel that's like my feeling on like not just the romance, definitely the romance subplot, but a lot of the emotions in this.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of works.
It works within the story. It's just me being like a dork for Spider-Man where I'm like,
exactly.
You know, it's not always like the most depressing shit ever. And then we focus on the air-conditioned sign on the cab.
Oh, shit. Now his powers are draining so much that he needs his glasses again. Oh, man, dude. I think I actually have a replica poster of that cover.
Do you really?
I've got pictures of Spider-Man and hanging up on my little
Spider-Man.
gallery. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh shit. Oh man, J.K. Simmons is just so fucking good.
Juicy J.K., dude. That's his name. Here we go.
Rude.
And, yeah. He's such a dick, but I love it.
You know what's actually really funny? On the
What's that?
first Spider-Man set, some of the suits got stolen. And they actually found the perp trying to sell them on eBay.
Really?
Yeah, how fucking funny is that?
That's really funny.
We got to milk this lady. Apparently, there's another scene that she was in. I think you can find it on the DVD. But apparently, there's a moment like when Harry's at the planetarium drinking.
Mm-hmm.
He actually pours his wine off the side of the building, and it hits that poor little lady. The lady with the violin.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Which I thought was such a weird little addition.
And there he is watching Steve Rogers get his ass beat in the alley.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry, he'll come back and
he's like, he can do this all day.
Yeah. Don't worry, he's going to steal the shield. I really love the fall setting in the cemetery, both for this one and at the ending of the last one. For some reason, I thought the deathly trees and the leaves in the wind just added really wonderful spice and flair to the scene.
Oh, for sure. Give me that spicy flair.
Fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's the car. Oh, and look, he's got his moped fixed up again. Right on. Good for Peter. He's finally getting a break. Oh, this scene actually really breaks my heart. That on the anniversary of Uncle Ben's passing, he actually fusses up without saying I'm Spider-Man, Aunt May. He actually fusses up and actually tells Aunt May that he's partially responsible. Like this. Oh man, this is such a good scene.
Yeah, it's like the whole movie, they're just like, let's just keep shitting on Parker.
Well, I don't know. I feel like, he's like, Peter's in this headspace where I'm like, well, I'm kind of in a break. Things are finally looking up a little bit better.
Sure.
And even though Uncle Ben is gone, maybe now that things are slightly better, I can confess to Aunt May exactly what happened, just to get this guilt that I've been carrying with me for the last 2 years or so, and just put it out there, because I can't take it anymore. And I love how quiet the scene is, and how...
Oh, for sure.
The shaking under both their voices is just... Like, because, when you see movie... it's really funny, like, movie crying Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man. We've seen that, and it's all blubbery, like, oh, and it looks kind of dumb, and then we have, like, the, just the one beautiful tear down a regular face. This is the point where I'm like, finally, they actually did get sadness in correct, where there's not really a whole lot of tears, but there's just heaviness and big breathing and trembling of the underneath, and where they just kind of lose it. I'm like, so this, in a weird way, these movies do have the full spectrum of sad Peter Parker Spider-Man.
That's a good point.
Oh,
yeah, it was definitely interesting to watch him tell the story. I think it's funny that he tells the story, but he kind of I don't know, he pulls a few punches. Yeah, well, I held his hand.
Well, he can't tell her specifically, that I'm Spider-Man. I went to go beat the fuck out of Bonesaw McGraw.
Right.
But those details really aren't the important details, though.
And her slowly pulling her hand back as he reaches
Oh.
out for her.
And Rosemary Harris, like, this is just like where she just stands up and leaves him. Like, goddamn. This movie might be silly at times, but it knows when to stop and do some good drama. Whew! Out of that scene.
That percussive clank.
Yes.
Yeah, I really love the design of this machine. It's so cool.
Right. The fact that it kind of... Yeah, look, the fact that it kind of emulates his arms, but not really.
Yeah, it's like one tip.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man.
Here we go.
Look at these sets,
juice.
man. You were mentioning, like, because this is an actual soundstage with real water on the bottom.
Right.
You know how hard it is to have a set with water?
Oh, yeah, it'd
That
be
shit's
insane. And everything's falling apart the whole time.
Mm-hmm. That shit's a bitch and a half.
And it smells weird. Oh,
Yes.
this guy who I remember having to rewatch this movie when I saw Spider-Man 3 when that guy is the one that has like the big reveal at the end of
He should have
Spider-Man
led
3.
with that, man.
What?
He should have led with that in this movie because, wow, you waited so much time, and after James Franco took a grenade to the face to tell him that, like,
Right.
You are so fired, Butler.
Yeah, well, not to mention, I thought from an audience perspective, I was like, who is this character? Oh, he is a butler? And then, yeah, he did, but, like, you know.
It was, like, honestly, I wish that he wasn't even like, I cleaned his wounds, and I can confirm that he is the Green Goblin. Like,
Yeah.
okay, first off, that shouldn't have been a thing. Second, that was a really awkward reveal. And third, you really should have done it in this movie.
Yeah.
And not waited for... Oh, this is so cool.
Yeah. Show me a tritty.
Yeah.
You destroyed the city.
No, don't you dare.
Why would you call a guy with monster arms a hack?
Right?
Why are people
Like-
dumb in movies all the time?
Well, I guess you could excuse that Harry's not exactly as smart as his dad, and he's also been drinking, and
Yeah.
he's also just pissed off.
Yeah, he is just pissed off and drunk all the time. Good point. Good point.
Alive.
They've constantly got Alfred Molina turning around like that.
Yeah, but it looks cool. Okay.
Oh no, it looks great. It's just funny, and I bet for him he had to love that. He's like, oh, I never would have been cast as this type of a person.
75% up. Damn. Oh,
Spider-Man.
this sequence. I forgot about this sequence, actually. I love that shot. where
It's
he's
because
like-
it's a callback to him doing it the first one, right? Because
Yeah,
he
it's
do
a
almost
little
the
bit
exact same thing.
But I love that because it's like the superhero archetype of, ripping the shirt open to reveal the logo and whatnot.
Sure.
But it's a wonderful little subversion. I love that.
So Peter doesn't seem to have lost all of his powers, right? He's just really lost webbing. I feel like that's not clear. Is he totally inept, right? At this point?
Not really. He's just severely lowered. I mean, his strength, his speed, his senses. He can't really web anymore, but...
Okay, and I just wanted to make sure I was clear, because obviously he's wearing the glasses again, so his eyes went back to sort of normal. I guess he's still weak
there,
too.
yeah. So he's not quite as strong, but he's still got a little bit of kick in him.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it's not really a good. It's not a good Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie without a burning building.
Right. He's got a record. Hopefully, there's a recording of a kid in there, and it's like. Aw.
But I do love that we actually have Peter Parker being heroic now. And there's
Yeah.
actually one shot, I think it's actually coming up like right after the floor goes, where I swear to God he actually looks more like Clark Kent than anything else. I know it's because of the glasses and the hair, but it's right here. Where I thought, oh man, he looks like he could be fucking Superman.
Right.
Oh shit.
I bet this scene was. I wonder how much of this fire's practical. Because now that I'm rewatching and looking for it, I can see a good amount of CG happening. So I'm wondering, or it's like probably just compositing more than anything else.
Oh yeah.
But I wonder how much of it was actually done practically. I'm always curious about those sorts of things.
Yeah, I feel like the further away stuff was practical, just to have like a little bit of reference. But a lot of it's composited in, and then there's the real big CG stuff.
Right.
But honestly, it blends beautifully.
I'm into it.
Yeah. And I do love this little bit right here where he's like, "You got some guts, kid."
Spider guts.
And of course, despite the best of his actions, he just can't save everybody.
That's right. You can't be Superman,
I love that line. But yeah, man, like, I love that he, no matter how hard he tries, because he does fucking try, he just can't quite win. And how relatable is that? Especially, with 2020 being 2020.
Right.
Yeah.
Whew. Can you imagine if you were 20 in 2020, how mad you'd be right now?
Oh, Jesus. My youngest sister actually is. So, yeah, she was a millennium baby.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's why we named her Y2 Katie. I wonder if this actress ever did much after this.
Oh, I forget, because I feel like I should have seen.
She looks familiar a little bit, and I'm like,
oh man, like
I'm looking
she
up
was
the
also
IMDb.
in. Well, apparently she's also in The Shield.
That's totally where I know her from too. That's
Yep.
right. She she plays a prostitute at some point, like I want to say like season 4-ish. But I think she's a bit of a recurring character too. I totally remember that now.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
And I love the fact that literally this character exists nowhere except the movies. This isn't a comic callback or anything. This is just another, gal for
It's a good idea.
Peter. Yeah, which honestly I don't mind. I mean, you'd think it would be you get a little bit bogged down by it, especially when they actually tried to have Gwen Stacy in this movie. Like there was some rumor going around, like in I think one of the actresses in, excuse me, the when he's talking like raising his hand in class and whatnot, like there's a blonde chick next to him, and apparently that was supposed to be Gwen Stacy, and they also wanted Black Cat in here somewhere, and that didn't work out, so she just wound up in the video game.
Yeah.
So there was there's a lot. Like apparently, they're like, we got to space it out. Let's space it out. And then for Spider-Man 3, Sony's like, you better fucking use all these things, otherwise we're going to have a fit. And then they used all the things, and it turned out to be a giant steaming turd.
Yeah. Too many cooks, man,
Too many, man.
It's water over the dam or under the bridge. She going full Rickyism.
A little bit. And again, she's so good as Aunt May here, because like it's a nice little follow up to that previous scene, where it took a whole in between scene for Aunt May to really process that, but ultimately she comes through, which is so wonderful.
I kind of wish there was still a bit of a bite there too, where she's like, "Yeah, well, that's not great, but I love you, and I'm glad you told me."
I think so. I think it's under there because there's a moment like we just missed it, but there's a little moment where she turns away from him and she just kind of wipes her eyes and kind of looks down, almost like, "I wish I had said something like that."
Right.
So I feel like that's still in the back of her head, but she's just too much of a sweet old lady to actually go out and say it.
So true. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
here they are.
Yep. Now, I think I remember this moment where, Aunt May delivers this beautiful speech about Spider-Man needs to come back. I really love the fact that they're trying to really implicitly say that, yeah, she totally knows Peter.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, I can't remember in this franchise if she did know. Officially, you know what I mean?
Yeah, honestly, but the way this scene plays out, I am perfectly okay with. Like, yeah, because you're not told that she actually knows that Peter's Spider-Man, but it's super implicit. They just don't. Neither of them ever acknowledge it, which is so the way that it should be, I think.
In a weird way, I feel like she put that together now through through him telling the story.
Yeah, that and his glasses, his old look coming back, like he's not his usual self.
Right. And at this point, I would assume it's like, oh, it's been a while at least that he's been glasses free and Spider-Manning.
I just realized now we have that long close up of him.
Yeah.
I just realized when I finally had to get glasses as a kid, yeah, I totally looked at like which glasses look like Peter Parker's glasses. Because I wanted to look like Peter Parker as a kid.
Aw. I miss those days.
I know, right?
Now I just want to shave my head and be a weirdo.
I love that little bit. Don't strain yourself, Peter.
Yeah.
I know you're Spider-Man, but don't strain yourself.
And we're back to the original things. The original rooftops from 1.
Yep. Complete with the big main title score. Because this is going to be an epic moment.
And he's just doing like
he's trying to
black
do
magic. He's like, I just have to believe in myself.
Do Taoist theory on it, like to go on to go far, to go out to so far to. I forget exactly how it goes, but
right,
you know what I mean. It's like that mind over matter sort of shit.
Right.
I love this face that he gives. I find myself laughing at it actually, but I don't care. It's so it just delves into the earnestness of it.
Right.
The characters believe in it. Yeah, there's cheese to it, but who cares? It's honest.
Right. There we go. That's what I was.
Ow.
Ooh.
Ow. Ow.
Oh, this is the my back scene.
Yep. So I actually remember reading about this when it first came out. This is like, before more things were revealed. But apparently I heard that was an actual injury, that there was a rumor going that was an actual injury that they just left in the final cut of the film.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And there was also a thing like, oh fuck, I forget. But mostly that's what I remember when it came out. But I thought it was really crazy that now it's actually just like an in-joke thing.
Right.
But apparently that was actually Tobey Maguire who hit the fucking sedan. Like, of all because they had a couple stunt guys do it, and they also had Tobey Maguire. And probably because, Sam Raimi's kind of a sadist. They decided to go with the Tobey Maguire take. I actually do really like this scene. Is like, John Jameson, are you Spider-Man? I'm going to do a test. And she goes and she's like,
so weird.
No, that ain't it. That ain't him. Although, like, she should know by now that there's no way that could be a thing, because literally his dad is the one who keeps, like, trashing Spider-Man in the papers.
Well, I feel like she's not assuming he'll be Spider-Man. I always felt like this was her trying to get that same rush. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Now that
where it's more like that's like it's almost like her kink now, for lack of a better descriptor.
Yeah,
where she's like, "Oh, that was hot. I liked that." Which is then, and By the way, that was a beautiful little effect shot, wasn't
Right?
it?
The transition.
The push through the window that was not really a push through the window. It was very clever.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man. Little Citizen Kane action there. But yeah, dude, like now that look at that through that lens, it makes so much more sense, and it made it a little bit better. So thank you, Mark. Thank you for
pleasure,
making this
buddy.
Marvel movie a little bit better.
There you go. That's why I'm on the show.
Of course.
To make it all better now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look, and now she's like, hey, listen, I'm sorry I was a jerk, but also you've been a jerk.
Well, in all fairness, she's not wrong. You know? Like, they've both been kind of like, Jesus Christ, did you make up your shit already? Which ironically, they did by 3, and I was like, fuck. Can't we get back to these stupid hijinks where we're not sure if we're not sure if you like each other or not or something, and we question whether or not Mary Jane should get saved and whatnot. Can we go back to that? Because the fact that everyone's happy-go-lucky is not really doing it for me.
Right. Not hitting all of my notes. I kind of like, her outfit's very, like, I don't know, it almost gives me, again, coming back to that thing we talked about earlier about this being very Silver Agey, is that she looks like super 60s here. Like her kind of, the overall, like the muted color palette, And
the
super interesting.
The kind of matching hat and whatnot.
Right.
Only although I love how, even though they do keep it Silver Age, they still manage to keep it, early 2000s hipster cool, with the beanie hat.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Because let's be honest, this is definitely the way New York hipster nerds in the early 2000s would dress in the Greenwich Village of New York. And before we can lean in, Spider Sense.
See, I mean, by the way, don't we also think it's funny that all of his powers came back right in a moment of there's a bit of sexual tension there.
Yeah, a little.
This movie's all about erectile dysfunction, guys. That's the truth.
That's so funny to look at it through, because you're not wrong. I can't see the lie.
Right, and I'm not trying to be like graphic or childish or anything. But it's like funny because like he literally hasn't had powers almost the whole second and now third act of this movie, and then as soon as she goes to kiss him, suddenly his shit works.
Dude,
you gotta think that's hilarious.
Dude, you gotta meme that shit for your page. By the way, people, if you want to see more of Mark, you can see him at you know what, Mark? Why don't you just do a little self promotion here?
Yeah, visit at the Mark Enning, like darkening, but themarketing.com. That's where I would go. And you can find all my other stuff from there. It's easy. Or youtube.com/themark. I just posted, this will be down the road, so never mind. I just posted this. I just revealed that we've taped and advanced him. So I've ruined the magic.
Oh, it's cool. But
I'll have released other videos at youtube.com/themark.
Sweet. I'll have links in the description below. So there's Spider. Oof. But yeah, dude. But there's I love this little look that she gives.
Yeah.
Like, hi.
Screaming women.
Yep.
And the CG in general is good. This is like one of the only times I remember thinking that the CG on Ock doesn't look great.
Yeah, but again,
and there's another
close
up on a screaming woman.
Yeah,
See,
exactly.
loves it.
But for the times, it's not bad.
No, I remember.
You can still watch it today.
I think think the catch is because they have.
That's awesome.
See, Peter, now erect, bursts from the rubble beneath. But for real, like, he shot up out of nowhere. Someone in this production was like, that, and then the rest of this happened.
Cool.
Right, exactly.
Hey, Beavis. Right. He got his thing up.
Oh, there's the fucking fist of fury.
Fuck yeah, Arthur
Look at his
meme.
angry knuckles.
It's the Arthur meme.
Yeah, right. That's really good. That's what we got to re-meme.
Yes, totally. Let's bring up a whole lot of Spider-Man memes for this. those of you listening back home, just start like flooding my messages on the Comtrack Facebook page with Spider-Man 2 memes. I'm here for them. Oh, I love this little bit. If you ever watch the outtakes, it took J.K. Simmons forever to get this this line right, because his false teeth kept falling out.
Really?
Yeah, it's fucking funny to watch, actually. Check out
That's
the gag
really
reel.
funny.
I might, you know what, I'll link the gag reel in there, too. Why
There you
not?
go.
I'll just have all the links for you guys in the description. Love that! Ah! He's back with big... Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I want Spider-Man! Like, yes! Just... Oh, I fucking love this movie.
I'm like, pump the brakes, Tim. No, I'm sorry.
No, I love it.
I love the palpable excitement, and it's like that's a great shot. I love. There's a lot of really little clever visual things. That's just, again, stuff I would feel like we would never get shots like those in new Marvel movies. Like you wouldn't get a cool transition like that because they'd be like, that's like a little too wild. We're just doing regular cuts here, guys. You know.
Come
and so
on,
I love those moments in these early superhero movies where they're like still kind of trying to figure out the formula, so like shit's a little more at times. Like these action set pieces feel way more grand. They feel like a little more classic Hollywood in a weird way, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm like saying that wrong, and some bigger dork than me will be mad about me saying it that way. But like this feels like this feels less like superhero movie and more like just great action scene kind of a thing.
Well, you know what? I'm here for that.
Yeah.
Like shit.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
There is one little issue that I have with this whole sequence, and it's really when Spidey fights Doc Ock in general.
Yeah.
Anytime Spider-Man lands a punch on actual Alfred Molina, how does that not immediately knock him out?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But you know what?
That's like a general problem I have with like all of the villains in Spider-Man movies, because I'm like, this is
Green
still
Goblin
just a
works
dude.
because Green Goblin
He's
works
he has
because
like
actually
fake super soldier serum.
exactly, but
So
Doc
he's a
Ock's
little
just
jacked,
a dude.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm okay with it to let my suspension of disbelief go, just so we can have more fight scene.
Right.
Because this whole sequence is fucking amazing, man.
I
Like,
remember
look at this shit.
I remember thinking, I was like, why is there a train in New York? Why did they shoot
Because-
some of this in Chicago?
Well, apparently there was a train many years back. It just got demolished. But they really wanted that scene in there. But they realized, Chicago's got one in the downtown loop, so they shot there for like 2
Makes
weeks.
sense.
And you know what? It looks amazing because in addition to that, they also got background plates of New York just to give it that
Right.
you know.
Still authentic.
Yeah. But holy shit, this whole sequence is
Ooh,
amazing.
I remember that. I remember feeling that hit in the theaters.
Yeah,
I
dude.
loved that.
Got a little bit of the French Connection with this, don't we? I love it.
Spider-Man Popeye Doyle.
Fuck yeah. We're gonna break it up, like, you know, Doc Ock's like not one to like, I don't want to hurt anyone. Let's use some innocent people to throw around. Like, again, it's not really consistent, but I don't care because we have the earnest moments, but we break it up with silly comic books.
I also
villain
think
logic.
too they've done like a decent job of like showing that Doc keeps kind of getting like a little crazier and more reckless as time goes on.
Yeah,
You know,
totally. Oh shit!
it would be awesome if a train like that could even go that fast.
Yeah, no kidding. I just think about the logistics of this scene and how crazy it must have been trying to shoot in the downtown loop area.
Yeah.
Because you know, getting permits for public transportation in the middle of the third largest city in the country, God, that must have been a bitch and a half.
Yeah.
Love that shot.
I also, yeah, it's such a weird design for a train too. Like, why would it just stop? But it's awesome. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
laughing.
It's like, why is there like no finish, and why is like, I don't get it. But you know what? Comic book logic, we're here for this. This is what we nerds come to the movies for. Also, another little cameo, the black guy in the to Spider-Man's
It was
left.
Phil Lamar, right?
Yeah, that's fucking Marvin from Pulp Fiction.
Nice. I always think of him as Jon Stewart on the Justice League cartoon. And I remember him from he was on Mad TV briefly, too.
Fuck yeah, dude.
But he's done a ton of voice work. Isn't he Samurai Jack,
Oh, yeah,
too?
dude. Yeah, dude. Yeah. He's done a lot.
I watched that, really, but I enjoyed what I saw. I love that. I love the buildings ripping apart here. I always thought those effects were really cool.
Yep. Oh, shit. And then he's like, well, it's starting to get closer, so let's do a shitload of them and hope that works.
Yeah, he's like, well, this didn't work. I better do it again. I better shoot my spider load.
This amazing, iconic shot.
Of the suit ripping, or him with his face there.
His face. Like, I don't care that it looks kind of corny and kind of silly. He's still just very honest about it. And I appreciate that honesty.
Yeah.
Even though we constantly make fun of, like, it's the Spider-Man pooping face.
You think he just keeps busting, shooting ropes, as it were.
Yeah.
Just keep busting that spider nut until you run out of juice. Because they never really talk about how, like, one of the things, one of the things I don't like about the
Raimi movies,
organic shooters is just that one of the things I always thought was exciting in the comics was when he would run out of shit and be like, oh, fuck, I'm out of webs, dude. Like,
yeah, and it also ties into him being like an actual competent scientist that made it.
Right. Exactly.
Which, again, I don't mind, but because that's not really the focus, I'm okay with the organic webbing, to be quite honest.
Oh yeah, it doesn't bother. It's like one of those things where I'm like, I miss the potential for dramatic excitement, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. Because like, I know a lot of fans were like, oh, he's just like shooting wrist jizz from his glands, and like,
I mean, they made it look very cummy when they show his when you see his arms. I'm just like, there's just big fucking cum blasts.
Yeah, and he's like,
why is there
that's
so
fucking because all the fans. Yeah, because all the fans are like, oh, that's fucking dumb. Like, this is dumb. Like,
yeah, he's got weird arm nipples now.
Yeah.
Where's Joey Diaz? Popular comedian and podcast guest Joey Diaz shows up here in a second.
They got a lot of really cool little cameos.
It's like all these people that were just on the way, and you didn't know how, but they were like, yeah, I'm working. I love Joey Diaz's voice. They should have only given him dialogue in this.
Yeah. But I do love the fact that all the New Yorkers are like, yeah, we ain't telling anyone. That's just a lovely little way to show the New York spirit in the positive light for a change.
Yeah, right? I felt like the first movie did a decent job with that, too.
Exactly. But yeah, I don't mind organic webbing Spider-Man, but I am really glad that the MCU brought the web shooters back. I'm like, oh my god, that looks so cool. And the fact that it's gadget-based now, like, hell yeah. Let's do this. Oh shit. Hello? I'm interrupting now.
Joey Diaz.
Yeah.
And me, cocksucker. Yeah, you like blue cheese with your hot wings, Doc Ock. Ocksucker.
I'm gonna fall over, but I'm gonna still fight you, and I'm down.
Yeah.
Love that transition. Again, you're right. There's a lot of really good transitions in this one.
Really just clever, inventive things that are cool looking. Yeah, just go and leave it over there. Thank you.
Yep. Oh, I love
and then they pretty much act out the M&M's Christmas ad here. It is you. They do exist.
Actually, I love his delivery on this, where he just goes, "Yes."
Yeah.
Oh shit!
And he's
Batman.
gone, and you can't even, and like, yeah. And you didn't even hear him. He's the loudest thing in this whole film.
Right?
And then every so often he's in stealth mode. All right, I'm going to
Actually-
kill Parker with this letter opener.
Actually, can we talk about how good the sound design is actually with those arms?
I thought they are pretty good.
Yeah.
Obviously I have it quiet here, so I'm just saying that and assuming that's true. But so I can't hear them at all, but I remember them being good.
Yeah, they got. I think
This
they
is
used,
silly here. He really does kind of go. You mentioned the Hamlet thing earlier. There's lightweight Shakespeare vibes. That jump cut
Little
has
bit.
driven me crazy for 16 years. Oh
Really?
man! So when he pulls the mask off, when we're done,
Yeah.
go watch that scene. It's 2 shots they match together.
Oh yeah, you're totally right because of the way the suit just functions.
It frames, yeah, like the framing's just slightly off. I don't know why they did that, or
I think it's because when the mask is actually physically on, it's sewn on. Like
that makes sense.
yeah, because the suit is a weird. Spider-Man's onesie isn't really a onesie in the comics. It's like a glove, shoes, and a mask, and
Right.
a shirt and pants. But in order for it to function the way it does, it usually has to practically be a onesie.
I wonder if the costume's uncomfortable.
I know it had padding, and I know he had a helmet underneath the mask.
Yeah.
A,
But just like
for
even the costume, like the body of it, you know what I mean? I'm assuming it's just almost like a giant Under Armour thing with web hard parts.
little bit.
That's
Jesus
cool.
Christ. Okay, so you remember how he had like the tiny itty bitty thing at Tritium, and that was too much.
Right.
Now he's like, give me all the Tritium because I don't care. Like,
yeah, he's literally
know,
like, I'm going to outburn the sun.
Like, as a scientist, you would think he would have the correct calculation for just how much he needs. I mean, he said he would build a larger containment field, but, dude, use the same amount you had last time because, Jesus. I do love the reveal of Spider-Man on the bog. And that Octopus can... He can actually see through the camera of his arms, and he can actually see behind him. I thought
So
that's actually
beautiful.
really cool. Oh, shit.
Yeah, I love that he knew.
Yeah.
I'm the only person that can be stealthy in this movie, Spider-Man. You're going to hurt a lot more people. Ah.
Did you notice, like, for the most part, like, when Tobey Maguire did ADR for when he's wearing the Spider-Man mask?
Yeah.
He's clearly ADRing, but when he's actually wearing the mask and he's, like, on set recording, you can actually hear him, being muffled by the mask.
Right. And I'm like, you just think that he would just get in the booth and wear the fucking mask.
Right?
And like, again, that's like one of those things where I'm like, why aren't we doing it that way?
I know, right? You'd think that would help with the sound and the quality to add that little extra dimension, but guess not.
Oh my God. Yeah. And then he should be done.
Yeah. He should have been done right there, but
And
no.
imagine if this is the moment that she got Gwen Stacy'd.
Right?
sees
That would
him
have
with the
been kind
mask
of
off.
fucking... How bold would that have been?
Oh my God. The audiences would have been mad until they recasted the better actor. Not a better, because she's good. She's just like not Mary Jane, she's very
you
like
probably-
Silver Age kind of Mary Jane, right? Like I definitely get in more recent incarnations, I definitely prefer the kind of Lois Lane characterization where she's kind of her own badass and not
Yeah.
as
she
much
has
like the sappy
well,
damsel.
As you can see, they tried to give her a moment here, but
Right.
fucking got shot down.
Well, yeah. And then they're going to stab. Let's see you scurry out of this, Spider-Man. Woo.
I do love the fact that his fucking arms have knives, too.
Yeah.
That's cool.
A couple of big pokey boys. I also love that all of the projects in this are just unplug it.
Right? Although it doesn't work here. Because now it's
because
so
he used way too
sustaining.
much tritium because he's literally created like
dude. For real. Although I do love the torn costume look.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing, the torn costume look in the ending of the first one. I'm like, oh, that's such a badass look for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But
I
here,
love
it's
that
like
they have that one shot at the end of the first one too. Do you remember where it's when the bomb goes off and it blows the side of his face off?
yeah, it was cool.
And I love that. I love that shot. And I love that it was like, again, an homage to another Spider-Man cover where he was beat up.
Oh shit! Really? So, did the electric shock that he just have like snap him back to sanity? Cause...
I think it like shorted out the inhibitor chips. That was sort of what I always took away there.
Or it like re-established it and made them not as dominant.
Well, I wonder if it's like it's like a little bit of a reset button for them too.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously the arms still have that aggressive quality about them, but he's starting to get his upper brain function is getting a little bit more control. And plus, you know, we have this lovely little character moment too.
And it's all like, meh. I love that they make noises. I think that's so silly, but it's like good silly. I want to only give soliloquies when people are strangling me to death.
Right.
He said that the thing that we love most, we have to give up our dreams in order to. Oh my God! Sorry, this is another one of Peter Parker's kinks. I am really hard right now. You know.
You need to make like a fake erectile dysfunctional commercial to footage of this movie.
Did you ever see my weird Avengers review where I pretty much did that, but it was really graphic and disgusting? So stupid.
Oh, dude!
I got a lot of angry messages on Reddit when I posted it. It's so funny. We wanted to watch an actual review of Infinity War, and you just talked about blowjobs. Yeah, it's so stupid.
Well, who do you think you're talking to, man?
Yeah, well, I feel like it's always new people that aren't prepared for satire, and at the time, this is a pre-Flare universe. No, I've got to drown it.
Yes. After all, it's kind of problematic to have you alive after this movie,
right?
Because you know who I am, and we can't have a villain knowing who he is that kind of turned good, I think.
Right.
And have him around for a sequel, which I will say it's a little sad to see Alfred Molina go and not have him return for like a Sinister Six thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm not going to lie, like, even I think it was Stan Lee who actually expressed, like, you know, he's like, I'm not a fan of how in movies they always kill off the villain. It's always fun.
Right.
I rarely do that in the comics, not just because it's serialized, but because it is legitimately fun to have them return in new and more creative ways.
Oh, for sure. Get it,
shit.
Peter.
Get it.
Oh! She's like, oh my God. And he's just like, hi, this is an incredibly weird moment here. Also, I mentioned earlier I like being choked by the tentacles, so definitely a terrible angle for you, MJ.
I do love that line. He's like, hi, this is really heavy.
Yeah, he's like soft little Peter, like, hey, yeah, it's just me. I would never, God, I don't, you know.
Man, dude, that set is ridiculous.
I don't remember ever feeling this uncomfortable around women in life as much as it seems to.
I love how this is like a very subtle reference to the "If This Is to Be My Destiny."
Right.
Pixar would like a word with you, Alfred Molina. You're totally going to play a monster in Monsters University.
Yeah, right. Good water effects here, too. Especially
okay. There's the shot when Doc Ock goes down with the oh, yeah, this.
The random tumbleweed.
Yeah, but it's
so...
I know that shit's practical, and it's really cool that it is, but it looks a little too practical.
It's only funny because it doesn't feel like... And I see it better now because everything's still getting sucked in, even underwater. It was like sort of silly. I'm like, where are all the police cars that they were sucking in before?
This shot...
But that's a beautiful shot.
Did you know it's completely digital?
It doesn't surprise me, but it's...
At the same time,
it doesn't look... Yeah, it doesn't have that towel.
Yeah, because when you look at it, I love this shot where he's climbing the fucking actual spider. Like that's actually really cool. But yeah, no, that shot of him going down under the water was completely digital, and the fact that that it still registers really well to the eye even now, such a really good testament for the VFX artist to this movie, man. Like, and I do know that it actually won the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, which is
Makes sense.
I believe it's the only Oscar that a Spider-Man movie earned so far. I think
Sounds about right.
I could be. Well, I mean, if any Spider-Man movie is going to earn an Oscar, I'd probably say this one.
I can tell my film dork in me gets weird about it because I'm just like, I wonder. I'm waiting for the one day when I really want one day a really artful superhero movie. I really want kind of Oscar bait superhero for real. Not Oscar bait because I want it to be legitimately good and not like trite and silly. I love this too. Here, slide down on my nut rope. I'm just gonna make this all. I have this other thing I've been doing lately. I have a friend who is a diehard pizza fanatic, and he has been posting. I swear, like once a few weeks, he'll just post about pizza, or like once a day, because he's like, oh, I love pizza. And then there was the whole Pizzagate thing and how that's like a a code word for children. And so now I'm gonna do a whole documentary about how he's involved with that, just using screenshots of his Facebook posts.
Perfect.
Should be great. Yeah. Hopefully he hates me afterwards.
Oh my God. Thank you.
And he's like, and then another one of Peter's kinks, watching his lady
do another guy.
Right. He's just like, I've been crawling outside your window.
I actually do really love this shot where he takes one look back and then swings off.
But I'm like, where is he swinging? There's nothing to web on over here. It's a sham.
It's fine.
It's movie magic. He can fly.
I do love the transition here where we go back to Harry Osborn. Now, I remember this in the theater for the first time. I'm like, ooh, we're going back to this.
Right.
Fuck yeah. But the way it ends was probably the most amazing trailer, like, not trailer within a movie tease for a sequel.
Nowadays, this would be the post-credit scene.
Yeah. Because, like, but back in the day, dude, this was like one of the best sequel teases ever.
Right.
Like, I remember that shit, and I'm like, oh my God, they're actually going to follow through with Harry Osborn Goblin. Like, this is going to be amazing. Spider-Man 3 is going to be the best movie of all time. And holy shit, did they not deliver. But I do love the fact that
I really don't.
Willem Dafoe comes back.
I'm in a mirror now, Harry.
And I love the fact that Willem Dafoe was just kind of in the area visiting, and he's pitched Sam Raimi, like, maybe I should make an appearance. And then winds up in the final cut, William's just being the ultimate friend so he can be the ultimate foe again. Terrible joke, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I really love that, where he just goes way over the top.
Right. When he's doing the Godspeed, Spider-Man, when he turns to that tone.
Yeah. Or when he does the evil laugh, where he just
right.
A little bit more haunted house type deal.
I love the idea that they have this gangster ass mansion and this like super shitty looking back wall, but then it's also an Apple store.
Yeah. It totally looks like it. You're right.
It's like definitely that modern design.
Yep.
All stores in recently gentrified neighborhoods are just designed like Harry Osborn's back room here.
Yeah.
All right, well, we've got exposed brick walls. There's some steel beams. We've got all of our products laid out on these glass tables that are underlit with IKEA LED lights.
And to top it off, our newest and latest glider line supplied with our mask collection.
Yeah, it's fair trade. Now, if this is a scene, yes, I hate this scene so much. Oh man, the running through the park in the wedding dress thing. Like, I
Okay.
don't hate it for what it does narratively. I just think it's so goofy and kind of unnecessary, because I feel like if they were going to do the will they, won't they should have just kept that up for and figured that out in the first act of the next movie. And it would have been
Yeah.
awesome for them to be like, okay, everything's great. And then Peter's life goes to shit because he finally got what he wanted, which I
Yeah,
think
a
would have been a
little
good narrative story instead of retconning Uncle Ben's death.
Oh my god,
And his
that was
rice
the
company.
most. That was one of the angry when I really got angry at the Spider-Man 3 when they
for sure.
retconned it. Oh, we'll have to talk about that sometime later.
For
because,
sure. Well, eventually when we get to Spider-Man 3.
Eventually, I do love how literally J.K. Simmons' character of JJ is so bombastic and in your face. It literally must lean into the frame just to be the focal point.
Right.
Like he's just that heady and egotistic.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Oh, I do love it, and it's silly, and you don't.
He
need
should have
it.
also been like Spider-Man.
Yeah, but
Totally.
again, you don't need that little bit in the movie about the caviar,
Yeah.
but it's still fun to have.
I think if they left, if I were doing this, I almost would have done that scene, cut this number that they shot handheld without lights through Central Park one day on a reshoot day.
It's you're right. It's not necessary, but fuck it. I'll because it's more fun when the camera just pans over and it's her. But you know what? This movie already had.
And where's Ditkovich asking her for the rent money? Do you have rent?
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking, this is the same movie that had rainbows keep falling on my head.
Oh,
and I'm like, you know what? I'll let it be. It's fine. It's corny. You don't really need it, but it's the same thing with that little bit with Jameson and his wife about the caviar. You don't need it, but I'm glad it's there. That's just me.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
A little flavor, a little seasoning.
Exactly. No,
I drank
'cause I'm
too much
Spider-Man.
water during this. I'm like, oh man, can't wait for the credits to hit. We should only be half alive. Half-Life, the game. I'm like, why are they doing ads for that during this movie?
I don't know. You know why I hate this scene the most, Mark? This is the last scene.
Right, exactly.
Oh, to be fair, dialogue isn't the best, but you know
in
what?
general, I think that adds to a lot of the kind of perceived corniness in the movie, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah, it's just like one of those things where you're like,
I think
dialogue
Sam
isn't
Raimi's
great.
probably too funny a guy to have really been like, yeah, that's, you know what I mean? He's obviously very intelligent and talented, but I seriously think at times I'm like, I think you're too funny to nail some of the other emotions, because the tone in those scenes always seems to be a little off, relatively speaking. Not bad, but different.
Yeah. And then finally, we have the line, "Go get him, Tiger," and
Right.
he swings off in one final epic spider cam shot with
Right.
the big theme. Oh, that's the other thing that
And
I
now
really
they would
hated
just
about
do this with a drone, right?
Well, no, that was same kind of gimbal. It's just kind of stitched together.
Oh, no. I meant these days they would just shoot this probably.
Oh yeah,
with a
no, yeah,
drone.
you're totally right. But yeah, dude, this is another reminder why I really just don't like Spider-Man 3, because these two ended with Spider-Man swinging off into the sunset, ready to fight another day.
Right.
Spider-Man 3 ended kind of dourly, where it was just them kind of slow dancing, all sad and pathetic.
Yeah,
and,
they're like everybody in our
feelings-
lives are dead.
Dude, that sucks. Although I do love that it's not the final shot that it doesn't fade with the sun shining off in the distance.
Sure.
It's Mary Jane looking off concerned.
Right, where
I
you
thought,
kind of do get it's like a hint of things to come.
Exactly, and I thought, ooh, how are they going to follow through with that? And, to tell, the long story is that, when they actually do start with Spider-Man 3, and they're like, oh, happy-go-lucky, and then they kind of go with it, and I'm like,
Right.
I don't know. It's just it's a long thing, and I feel like that would have to be for the day we actually do Spider-Man 3, when we do Spider-Man 3. Because next month we're going to be doing something else, but we'll let that know at the end of the episode. But in the meantime, I want to know now that it's over, because how did it age for you? Because I know it's been a while for you, and it's been a while for me too.
I kind of want to. I think I by the way, I still liked it. I think it still holds up well. I think I feel like, honestly, I almost feel the same way. And I'm not surprised, because I think all of my complaints are not really. I'm not like, this is a terrible movie, and I wasn't also prior to this like, this is the greatest movie of all time. So I think, thankfully, having somewhat tempered expectations, I still enjoyed myself quite a bit. I mean, I think the performances are good. There's like little things like we talked about, like dialogue's a little corny at times, especially when it's not funny or actiony dialogue. But yeah, I mean, overall, I still really enjoyed it. I definitely think there's a reason that this gets talked about in the all-time greatest stuff, as far as like this genre goes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, dude, as far, like, again, it's been a while since I've watched it, and yeah, shit, I forget how high the highs are for me in this movie, because when they're high, they're really high, man. Like, the best moments are just like, oh, so good. Like, hell yeah. To the point where I just want even more, and then they gave me 3. I'm sorry, I'm lingering on 3 too much. But yeah, dude, like, this movie is still my favorite out of the 3. Probably my favorite non-MCU movie, I think. I know that there are some better Marvel movies that are non-MCU out there, but if I really had to pick my personal favorites, probably this one, just because it's because, like you said, I grew up reading the Silver Age stuff, and it really speaks to me, and the fact that they rendered it really beautifully and still kind of updated it to make it kind of new in their own thing. Like, it's legit a lot of fun, and the fact that it uses a lot of like old school techniques. And the fact that I got to watch all of those special features on the DVD about it, and actually start learning about practical effects and puppetry and camera operation, things like that. Like because like I said, disc 2 of any DVD was my film school, in like when I was growing up in like middle school and early high school. So. Yeah, this movie's still probably one of my favorites. I probably should check out the first Spider-Man again, because that was kind of like probably my first because like I said, you've got a couple years on me, and you have a better sense of the superhero climate before Bryan Singer came around with the X-Men and started the whole superhero revival. But like the first real time I think I got into the whole superhero genre in terms of Hollywood movies was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, not the X-Men. I think I watched the X-Men a little after Spider-Man, because, again, I was actually reading the comics. So, but yeah, let's see. We got People of New York and Chicago Transit Authority.
That's right. The CTA.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Peter Cetera himself.
Yeah.
So good. But that was fun. That was a good episode.
Yeah, dude. And I guess we'll have you back for the next Marvel movie of the month with Mark. Can you say that 5 times? 5 times. Can you say? Actually, can you say that 5 times really, really fast?
What was it? Say the
Marvel movie of the month with Mark.
Marvel movie of the month with Mark. Marvel movie of the month with Mark. Marvel movie of the month with Mark. Marvel. Yep, I'm almost done. But so we got close.
Yeah. So. I'm sure there's some folk like, I can do it. No problem. This guy's a hack.
Right.
But yeah, folks, like that was still a really fun time. But we'll be back next month with Mark, and we're gonna go a little Halloweeny with it, and we're gonna do Blade with Wesley Snipes. Yeah, the OG Blade. I'm looking forward to that. I have a slight confession. As of this recording, I have not seen Blade yet.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I'm excited
I
to
need
see
to-
what you think about this.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it first before we do the podcast, and then I'm gonna sit down and watch it with you because, yeah, it's gonna be a real fun time. So
I did that with someone a little while back, and I was like, "You've never seen these, huh?" I was like, "Okay, well, I always remembered liking. I liked 1 and 2 a lot, and did not care for 3 at all. But also,
yeah.
for a long time, thought 2 was the better one. But then, having just rewatched them like last fall, 2 is not the better one. I don't think. But I'm curious to hear what you think about this.
Oh, dude, totally. I might actually just binge through, even sit through Trinity, despite the fact that it has my trigger name, director name on it, David S.
Right.
Goyer. We'll see. But yeah, either way, I'll let you. We'll see you guys next month for Blade.
Sounds beautiful.
Yeah, and I think we should bring back Blade every October for
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Every October, it's Blade.
because he's literally the only Halloweeny kind of superhero.
Right?
Exactly. So yeah, we'll see you guys next month with Blade. Until then, this has been Comtrack. I've been Tim.
I've been Mark. I'm still going to be Mark after this.
This has been a Marvel Movie of the Month with Mark on Comtrack, where you'll never have to watch a movie alone again. Peace.